Adia chia bia de chema ma ya mama chema makwa by United Television. So critical issue na ne ebra so ye de ebremu no otwe agba pa mu ifisa bia kopem sedu ba ko bebo no. Ye ne abedwafo obedi nkomo for oman nkan kodi ni mpuntu ho medin e de Agya Kwabena ene abedwafo beba na fe nsama hodo a ehun yese edi ho nkomo no yetumi aka ho asem sense we are in a critical time, therefore there are so many critical issues I see etumi edwendwen ho no ye kire adwene critically. Let me abo ama critical issues no enya critical answers and solutions. Inti na no pay enya sem kuma ofie akora na lawyer for me ensa ane ensa baka mu ofie ha. Inti emra ne de ebupu awesa pa enne me be call law school. Wo mu wie show na se me lawyer ni esan se lawyer for me ensa. Won be kire me ya na mso bi de mi fie die na ka ho a de kakra me so bi ni mu no. Me de balance a na fi ma yenti mi du fie pa na makoto sa o mu wigi no. Ani bi dam so ma hye. I'm sure that may call. But I'm going to ask some of the feeding at one and come by Bediani and some of them you penny back one some day kind a police for Munia, yes, some young robbers, yes, billion van. I'm robbers, I call Robo, yes, here, Robo, we are Kate, I trust Ben Prince and Pren 9. I'm a curious, I see police for crying a young Akonfui. I'm not on many more shit. A cabambo one somewhere, as I say, your bomb hobino. I saw or to me every if you cron for hono or no muya or your cron for o can answer by you so say or your cron for o can answer by. Na me no say adom cooperation ya ko ye almost na prime suspect. If you don't run so many meanings into say or come for so edi wu ye no enti ye be di onkra no akra ye ne former director general CID edi nkomo e Rabrato Drew e man so resist and one or two issues should be for kwan the first so this amranti ekoya asema ati sa no ekokusiye na samranti eka mo asemu ikura no eye Pablo no ene nyame no o mo kire se imana se wo mo de kun no na o mo nkwa didi wie anso no kwa adwuma ena eno achi o mo asan ko bodi tuku no esa na ti ampa eye nkomo bibra ibidi na ya hwe se ye be ye den ama police adwuma ku no ho ate ama ni die ni gidi esese nyama wo no yetumi nyama wo we and Sambia be doing common paper. As I say, if the police is corrupt, if it happens a police administration as a police institution, you know, and someone nye papa e wo mo ho. E mufo no nye papa, ene na ye wu. Esanse wo mo ene ben yem pa. Enti san common e be di ne ne. Eno achi Supreme Court asigina say first Deputy Speaker of Parliament ekoba se speaker ni ho na se wono preside and aso te adwamu se speaker so mu vote obetuma vote bi as speaker kum MP or MP kum sit in speaker. I raise a lot of legal debate, constitutional debate, moral debate. Enti na ye ba dwene ho ne ya bisa questions bebre se anya bia sa gina Supreme Court to see ye no e bebie kwan ama amnahye bedwafo dwuma mo ye no amafo no hwene wurewure mu ana esan say executive awo ntumi omo de omo independent, judiciary awo independent, legislature no parliament nso independent. Ento omo miensa no obi ade ne ho na mo ne se yehwe constitution na ye mara pon ya so obi betumi akyerɛ ase akyerɛ ni pomasibre akyerɛ sɛ de sese di adwuma Supreme Court for na say it is a some constitutional issue a Supreme Court na say Supreme Court esi gina ya so say complaining and now say Supreme Court no so esi gina ya no omo so si gina ya betu of omo overstep omo si manetra omtumi no mahode omo wo so ana omo si gina mane ko wurawura mrasebedwafo di omo ho no dwumedi ahodo mu ana yebedi ho nkomo na no pay papa nti am so lawyer for me ensa ena ewa ha enti kame ho na ye nuom nyina enye ema no enye fe na no pay ya di this way chocolate drink and the coffee drink ena eye adwuma na no pay me manu bi me no anopa me no yellow sisi this way yellow sisi once onum wi ase na fifren kitinkiti bi sisi ohwene so no ya e be fine papa eno a ena me nom hye no so ma me pa wo so no bi ne betumi aboa special ice nsio eno ne sie ye no mu awu wan ye di nkomo bi ena 3 days afa ye kidney ho am ye hunu say the more you drink water the more you protect your kidney enti nso de so ba no mu a and one special ice deɛ wɔ toa mu no hyɛ no so ɛne deɛ wɔ sachet mu no yɛasɔ ne nyinaa so pɛpɛɛpɛ ɛsan sɛnsateɛ nyinaa nyɛ pɛ na nyɛ obi a na betuma atɔ toa mu deɛ nti ɛna sachet deɛ no yɛayɛ nti deɛ wonum toa mu deɛ no a na sachet deɛ no ana wonom wonum sachet no so a na toa mu deɛ no ana wonom nti me say deɛ no sɛ we ne sa if I no get do then I go buy the sachet one if you tea am there pour am for this one inside if I dey drink go think say be bottle one dey drink it be the sachet one where I dey drink because ne nyinaa e purely purified womo ɛna ɛboa ɛna fei lumi trust ɛyɛ aduru a yɛayɛ de ama malaria kum ni papa owiase paa na we nkwadaa deɛ no no suspension yɛde strawberry ɛna fi kwadu flavor ɛna afra nti sɛ wo no mu akwadaa ne no mu ɔde gu n'anum atɔntɔntɔntɔn wɔnom ne ntam ɛbɛ malaria mu bu mbanguo na we wɔ dabi mpanimfoɔ no so yɛnom limitras fort ɛno ɛyɛ pres sɛde yɛtaka no tete no nti bra nkwadaa no anom limitras suspension no na yɛ so yɛnom limitras fort no na etumi aboa paa afei yɛsan ɛwɔ trans 400 ɛyɛ sunsunro san sunsunro ni sunsunro amansa nyina gya tum sɛ papa every fo agya tum Ghana Standard Authority fo agya tum ɛna Ghana fo so ɛde stamp team so say bam sunsun bia ɔyɛ yɛfo no mu bia no sɛ ɔnom trans 400 a sunsun na so ɔde sɛ den ɔbɛkɔ sunsun bi tumi nyi dan ne sɛ den kyɛm ɛwɔ nipa yam nti misrɛw bɔmɔden a wo ne abusua no bia nom ɛyɛ trans 400 sunsunro no ne betumi aboa pa sanro nyinaa meka wasɛm yi no adwuma ku ade aba ɛyɛ former trasfoɔ sɛ menka nkyerɛ sɛ ɔkɔ pharmacy shop drugstore baabi bia tuntum no kan hye ne miahodo nyinaa wo nsa ebetumi aka bi na wo pɛdodo so atu a wobetumi afrɔ mo 0561 088 663 0561 088 663 and after 0561 088 666 after enu achi kwajafo e dey paste ahodo miensa na aba na kwajafo paste no efo ebi 2 cities 3 cities 4 cities 5 cities 6 cities ebi kura no de odbetwitwi se eye brush na nkasa so esan ka ho fofolo fo se do bi beka no efo pa eye papa so entimi sew osi achi nam na emre osi asita afiri moja konkone ne wosia wanumu eyi nkabone a pace amekanfo de ama wo ekojafo pace sanse wo de nema hodo awurawuram se na be ye beboa ama wanum ate se wan sanso ena wo de eye koja pia ba ene e mouth bath eno eye nso wo gu wanum a na wo de agina wanum kakra anti bacteria ene germs ko wasiase nyina no ebe kill wo nyina one time nti pugu ye no na se germs ne bacteria sa wo mawu no ena ekɔ no ebe boa papa wanum ayi hwam afei Procode nso de papu na kire wa se wo ho ase da wuti ya wo ya kata bi ya chon ketenkete men delay esan se now time no days mre ni ho sanso na se ka ni ho enti emre no pace esese aircon eseko 2 times se na be betuma ben be esika wo nti woni ahode abe na wotumi akọ enti mesra wo abomode asa osa betumi aka Procode abrebia na tumi aboa wo ama nso tumi gira na so pinti okọ drugstore pharmacy shop ene be atuntu nro nyina wo nsa ebetumi aka Procode ene kojafo product papa ibi da gibi na ebeboa pa ena no pe daily graphic anim na me who story no mesre ya na me say oh amaga na emitiwa na mayi kom yesi kasa enye roadworthy e makoma be 1 million ena over 1 million ebo 1 million pepem baako ena nam Ghana kwan so a enye roadworthy nso roadworthy sticker ebo ho e ho na ye e me ameti ye e me sanya me ayo bi adwuma seso ye e no hwe no nye ne yie ida se o ma na fa kwati kwan bi so akotwitwa roadworthy stickers ni bi e no moto no sumase de ma cars no mo de ye adwuma enti nyame na me ye enti bebe nya kwa na sa me ka wosema esesa me ka wotumi hu ka bi pa na nam kwa se enti ka we Ghana na nam akra ha capital city wotumi hu ka bi po se ebe insu do firi he eye adwuma obi anka ho hwe your DVL wo ho your MTTD wo ho assemblies awodo no kran so have a responsibility ewo kasa ewo mo municipality nyina omo hwe kasa bi anadwo nkwa na ye adwuma trotro ni bi any taxes anadwo nkwa na ye adwuma ya monitor you see these are some of the things yehuna se ka then somebody will say somewhere and start to insult you me wa mani ya minu nyina ye dia And to say, let me say, because now, Obi a trying to kabusu be an eduma in as we must say it as it is. I say, so be so. Ya mommy cham so, I do how neighbor. Esa sabi dia medem hu ntinu ya kamasem me pacho ye beka wasam dachi na bere beka wasam no na ne manyina age egu ba bia ne beto sina sie tumi ka hwe okota ma fishing habo a mobo ene ta ma fishing habo bi sasa verses do se ne tumi lande every week. And why you say din, what is going on? Okota ma habo ankasa ye bi sasa ship do se ne tumi lande organa ha edoko e otama habo. Baby, I want the fried fruits. If you gana ekwa manane no, and next I am fan say fridge or my na say you my this shemu. Your baby ni nyina fruits no be nim. Aye why I say you see something is wrong with our mind no. Enti I see a cat. Something is wrong. Bibi nkoye e wo man mu. Bibi nkoye e mo man no e san na chi. We must say it. Na so be ada wa sorry. Me say what do you kwan akotama habo kohwe ko fishing habo tama fishing habo kwana kohwe with your naked and you akosua we na hwe se nyama ekosanya na I was saying you generate a lot of revenue. It's a revenue na ma to ya jejin kakaka me say me dey make us say it doesn't make sense. Say you be yito say you yito me for me it doesn't make sense. Ye hia sika e da se kire oman no ye hia to e da se kire oman no to ye je ye kakra wo de yemfa no sanka every day to e won kan hanko a e mai 1 million Ghana cedis wo de yemfa 200,000 Ghana cedis every day 5 days ye saying e je 1 million Ghana cedis so 1 million Ghana cedis sent to me bibi or the senior sigina say ye nya toji without any reason. And yet, meanwhile, who call me who be a meahood bit a one can hear if you call a free zones in us for a 1 month. What's your toe? And so what's your referee zones? And I'm a boy. I didn't a main road Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, a man who the train was saying now, or more tracks and Namuso, she no, yet your toe. I mean, why? Yeah, your mind as if you say. Abusua bi a wo mu ni sika ofrade ya bribia ansoro ne medidi no ko firi na twinam ne nyama ne ba no mo ya aduane ne peche o mu didi wie ya no ano de ka ya nkese o mu di sia de echa o mu atumi ahiti adi no no mo hwie ne nyina agu mi ho sika no so ni bi wo ko firi ansa no wa ba bedidi sa no manga na ye da ne ye ho ye waste ne ma bi anse se ye waste ene lawlessness no eko baby ese car park no enye ne hye ase o dada ye de ne sama se no baby a enye car park anasa bus stop no adane bus stop baby a ensese nipa cross kwan no ene ye cross kwan wo ho baby a ensese ye di dwa no ye de sabe ho da na dwadi bia baby a ntuoto a anka ensese yiri no ye de sama sese nso pete kwada ho yiri and nobody seems to care hwe adi na di edi ajeje kwan yi hu ofri ofanko barrier eba menim se maintenance no mu yo se de no mu yo enade no wo mu ayiyi afi se de bobo ho no e de agu ka kwan ni mu enti se wo kona se wo hu ni yi a wo ta ba ekofa so wo su ye metra ne enka it's common sense en kire ye say sa na de ne gu ne betu be pejampo afiri kwan ho ade ato bridge na say na so wuhia say ye ba ya esa pejja de abehye ho ana and no pay I don't want to hit but I hit small enti enabejafo aba won krado enche meto sa from na fe yedi nkomo na fe yehu se dia esi eko enne se na me kankan no a lawyer for miensa na menya omo ewo fie ha lawyer John Drakon ewa ha o senior lecturer Gimpa Law Faculty owa ha na Yasompa wono so lawyer ni na obi a wa bi osikase mu pa na fe Sami Jamfi wɔno nso yɛ lawyer ni national communication officer de ma NDC wɔno nso ɛwɔ fie ha enti sɛ yɛtwɛn ho ɛba a mmeranteɛ a wɔn ho sisi wɔn so mmiɛnsa a aben ɛwɔ mmaransɛm mu ɛne nneɛma ahodoɔ bi mu no binom bɛdi nkɔmmɔ. They are critical people, critical thinkers, and we are going to discuss critical issue. If you say a bit, you your critical answers are now.
Honourable members, when it comes to the question of voting, it is very clear. Any time any of the deputy speakers or any other member elected to preside is in the chair, that member does not vote. That has never been in dispute. Any time a member is presiding, either a deputy speaker or a member who by necessity is elected from among members to preside, that person does not. Honourable members, when it comes to the question of voting, it is very clear. Any time any of the deputy speakers or any other member elected to preside is in the chair, that member does not vote. That has never been in dispute. Any time a member is presiding, either a deputy speaker or a member who by necessity is elected from among members to preside, that person does not.
Where yen some ya de prapra kwam we prapra kwam mu efa sa Genesia Supreme Court to see ye se ebia speaker ni ho na se na be de akire o yem na hye bedwani ayi no so mesi na nan mu abeti na adwamu se de ameti adwamu ya se du se ye beto aba o na hye bedwamu ade asiginaye e wasem bi ho a I'm so nipa na hye bedwani na mbom speaker ni ho nti wakota na konwa so no saa woni no eni ho kwan se woto aba saa sami oninyafo Joseph Osewusu a oye first deputy speaker of Parliament of Republic of Ghana and ekaye just last year onukure ya na saa sami asori afa ne ho esan se afia hyase budget kom na shebedwam no asamo a okaye eye speak anase na shebedwafo wo mo hyehyeye no afi yewura mu no budget no hunsam sori ya ono so stia adwamu as speaker no ene akwese ono so esese woto aba nti eden na asesa preko pesa amasa asamo a okaye afi etwam no afi wi niema asesa na kwese esoso no so to aba ni bi anaso obi biara speaker ni ho a we na hye bedwani no woto aba ni bi. There are about 6 or 7 questions bi ho a ye be bisa fa saa Genesia Supreme Court si ye hu esan se eye oman ne mrapon ewom se omo no cheche mrapon na se de enso di bebia bi om Genesia no se ebia amfa bebia se fa ebetim de ho aba enna bebi nso aso man kan se de se omo kan no yi a ebe betumi ma hoye bi nso tumi asore anase niam ba ko bi no se betumi akwa ebeka constituency no a saa onipa representing ebeka hye. But the question also again is se ono ye member of parliament na wababeti na dwamu se speaker no se koba se bi a wo mo eye debate afa issue bi ho na se ebia ne constituency wono so da sa debate from ye no esese wono so wo kasa bi a aso ono a betumi afre no ho ama ono asan a contribute e wo debate from ye no brought say adwam say speaker no ana no de enka ho we ni nsama do bibiri na no pay ye bedi ho nkomo pa enti sa me di kankan no menifa so lawyer John Darko wono lecture o kire mra wo Gimpa nkrabata o mo kire mra no mi hu na che me bisa ne sese o ma start school ana openi machi
yeah
bi aboko
adum
ma start ade kire
a final year students we shall see na otwe etwemu the second and the first year students Monday your chinechia
na obeshasi
Eja but they prepare say Ghana. Even your lawyers, they be making say Ghana have more doctors than lawyers. But it looks like these days a lot of people want to read law. But what can you do? I didn't purpose to be so.
Lawyer, so you lawyer for so be lawyer for so doors. One man so change to the yada. I think more quite baby. And if you bank so pay, do ya kwanta de share ya sompa. One also or ye lawyer ni or no creations kasam to tiano. One also abiumu ye pa. Wodi hine kura wodi ya kwanta na mo.
Bacho, Agya na nati dia.
Na nati nana we die nana kwachi tromo. Nana adama ma me dishi ma no konye bi na ja oni wo ho. Ya bibi akoko. Na mnati ahene.
Nyame adom mi na benyi. Na also
adom
de nyame ase.
Na fei Sami Jamfi enso lawyer ni Andy Samayuko no communication team no ono na pani a woda wo mo ano. Ono nso menyane tie se ono so sade aya akodi hene no ono so bedi hene sa Sami ampa.
Passion yes sanity.
Yes sanity. Uni hene.
Passion dem bi.
Ene mema wadi hene. Mama sa Sami bi aboko.
Onya media che.
Ye dey hu ase. Ye se ye hu obia ho ye. Ene ye beba sa ensemu so pa but briefly no e be 2-3 minutes bi na ye ni komo kakra emfanfa police phone sem ye ba ye hu na fe sem na aka no na bredo na aka no ye de akasa so do hwere be mienu ye de akasa de afa ye Supreme Court genesi a wasi e de afa se first deputy speaker obetimi vote and so tumi vote as say no yes obetumi vote enti mame sha se mfiri wo so yaw police phone say me wadi akiri kakra what dey see nyina na me pese ye fa no 3 points dey di kan say police phone betumi nya kokoduru atwitu said the police report na dey aba no ekumo mu nya police ni esan se kam kwakwagi nti 2 abani say no the trust between the police themselves no at the same and after 3 GDS say ye amanfo no e say nya police form no eno so te say na be even before kra no ye security situation no say akoba ni say no say na be say na ebeye nti at least unya be 5-7 minutes bi na so between the can we ho asem a na fi ene police for ye ko ye so mdo cooperation ya mo hwere mo nkwan eno so ye hwe
okay Agya meda say meche tie for police in common no measure say Agya medical ka wo fia pen say maybe atwam there was a Stanford research yeah nipa mienu ye group ya mo mienu near fan so we are prison guards near say prisoners research no which was supposed to last for 2 weeks and lasted 2 weeks na atwam because of the abuse of the powers of the people who were supposed now more also more act as prisoners no sadan meka ma no ko see say we as no e kame I say nipa sunya tumi a wan hweye na wan cheche ni ya ana wan hweze ni o see use tumi na no akoye tumi intra so meka bie ma na ko see say the dia hu our police service mo no my fa ne tatrata sa to determine say nye police ni ba kon. But if even it was an incident of police in Iba, no in itself is a very big and concerning issue. Because on our man to also more hobai. As a work of a security guard or on the bow fear hobai, na najo, on one be real. I think that I was say the questions are rising directly from and I say and some busa was say busa and who fee this incident muye they can then cover by. And if we're careful, say a big DHA near Busai and said then a cover by you would answer questions of professionalism, but key among it, a choir fasu jinipa, our police to what extent are people are more more background checks. Sebi uko mama private man cry he requires a search. What are the procedures for which somebody joins? And I said you are me party ninti on joining police service and I think incident way yema ye ninko because say be say ye de nipa baako ananse mone baako ne ye de hyehye mra ananse ye de tumra into the American say this incident warrants all the seriousness it deserves because say be say police in and it's not an isolated case in recent time yatete and there has been incident of police caught in different issues. Generally, you hear perception of corruption. Police ranks, unfortunately, among some of the institutions. You say IGP awaba doing all he can. So basically, the perception and the trust of the forces. But never be to say a change sang kind corner sign. Inti me susu yemu de dikan ya wose ebusa ye ho say den ne kofa baaye ye hu ne kofa baaye no asiya yembusa ye ho say ye koye nim no kwan be ne ye befa so a ye beso anu a enko babiem because ye nim say ye say nkati moa bia nkati bonefra inti ye den ya ofa nipa 1000 a ye den ya wanye bia obenya ba kwa na mienu bi. But I think say the speed at which say yet ansem bueno I was say how bia ni nyina ye hunu ni say sebi enya asema I was say fan tatrata sa na police because there's police ni is supposed to exhibit the highest form of professionalism but the police need to me for to ekuninu when we know say police no say binke kamia is a brotherhood it is obi bone kra anye bia police ni be katani nua police ni ho but the police need to me for to okuni nua police ni dia na chese me amete nchen dia wan hwe ya obomitu ni wi obesa abomifu no aka ho nti yen kama ni nkosi se enya asema e wo se e fa ne tatrata sa ne mo yema ya ni nko ho ne embusa se kwan be ne e fa so a ye je police for e wo krom ha we should all interrogate that question very carefully. And in the interrogation, we should determine, say, sebi, we employ people who are qualified. Because I'm a first security, I need be a mebusa, or call private security forces. I sure say, people just working like that. And I say party man, I say, and I speak of party on both sides. And yeah, once we distill it to the most qualified, no more training, sebi, and ya there, prepare amo ma beye police bia keke nanso mu training is well curated to meet the best policing standard e wo wiase aman nyina dia nansem we ne bia ye bete so ye ntimi ntwa so kra ye bete so nti eja masem we no me nsusu ye no ye hwe kwan ya ye fa so je omo ne kwan ya ye fa so tete omo no na ye betimi ayi part sem na fi mu a na ya interrogation of these matters carefully bia ye bete ne nsi ye no so inti minsusu ye fa we ho no
okay me da se we dey aboni tawpa ye behwe John wo hwe se de we koya wo gidi se ye betua ye ho bibi enura me ne DCP retired bra to do din komo na saba ko kan no na o ka de afa ye protocol no ho ene hu sense o se protocol den ye bad na mo no politicians anase amanyofo ede protocol na da ne bibia nipa nsen fatakwane asom do magu enti ede oha bibiri ba enti no ususu se den esese ye se de be ya de ekeka kwe no ebe ma gidia ye wo police adwumaku no betime gia na nkonkoba se obi benya adwe bi se bia ye mbambo kra no e ya to si
minua midase na michia ye tiefo ni ahwefo nyina ensema ye kan migiri se ade a ehia o man ye pa se asem eto ewofia nipa obefre no anadwo de sum die you want to call the police se o driver anadwo na BBC okwema nipa opesa ofre no police a wo mu na o gidi se also mu ebo ho ban and see in a situation where there's an issue with the police and there's lack of trust in the police na abaya adia how mine na Misha Sienka said, all over the world, the term dirty cops and I say dirty police exists for a reason. Maybe we are saying, do baby, I would say, any power, more police, and you mean any papa. irrespective of where the person is coming from. Now, I'll just give a short example. In the US, the city of Baltimore, 2017 to 2018, SMBC, a police officer, and now also one who is in police for abokrono pa aye nyambransem ewo Baltimore City. Oye na dwen se bekwa akoka omasem a omuboni a omudie. Obi a opese wo hu bia sa police officer na friend Sean Suter. Ye dey movie cra Slow Hustle. Now Sean Suter made it a point said the bonea adokro policing ewo Baltimore no obekwa akoka ama ye clean up the police. Na omudie ne de enye se nipa kumunku a police ni etimi gina wo na or the drugs a show came or the drugs ni show came ma na wa frame you up say we drugs police ni etimi ekọ drug dealer ho ekọje sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars na wakoje. This is America. I'm saying this just to let us understand say the akwaso memu no enye ade a eye we can say just specifically for Ghana ya ade see we ourselves and nyina, but it is how we handle it that matter. Shown suitors making the whole city of Baltimore investigations so Emma, in fact the mayor of Baltimore had to resign. In fact, there were about 3 mayors that resigned during the pendency of the issue because obiabo person resolve assembly. The entire police officer when I resolve kind of clear. I'm a boni eco police mono. Ebe film ye boni tu we are kiti. Others felt say no suicide, but eventually the investigation revealed said it's a police officer who died in the course of duty, because he wanted to reveal some of the wrong happenings in the police in Baltimore. So they make kind of say, said the investigation occurs in other places to just get out the bad nuts. That is what we have to do as a people. So far, Semia Akosi police officer, Wakukum the young police officer, how are we handling it? Me say no now say because look, after the bad nuts, you will get them anytime, anywhere. There is nowhere in the world you have clean police officers, not even in the army. But it is how we handle issues when they happen. Mijiri said, as MSC, nobody wants to applaud what has happened. No. But we need to interrogate how the police administration is handling the issue. And Mimia Ekasan, he made mention of 2 things. I mean, he said very important. The recruitment and training of the police officers. How do we go about the training of these, first of all, the recruitment? You all have spoken about, said the political parties, you know, we see a mini penny pension, and it will be cry or senka. So you're running a little search on him. You can be sure say nipa we no, be a diboni be that, and he's not qualified to be a police officer. If him. I give you a case of in America. America said once you are arrested by the police, especially in California, for even misdemeanor, see a chon would do record with me a police officer. And it's as a country, you know, you can't show near my baby.
Ya chill and you say bimpa. What could the body my dad what if you see a child will be a crown?
Oh, misdemeanors.
Chill catch you. You can't cut them. Traffic he has already made criminal
because we are responsible.
America police
so,
any more than
anything they try to get the finest of the finest into the police. And no crown
or more how
and some you run a background investigation and Obiboko police office Obiboko police administration me just say finger prince granny and father, but or say to me is it's a whole gamut of problems. See ya chimia you bet me a chim ha and in 3 weeks time you bet me who cry say ya chim that because you don't have the system to determine say see chill na see bo fingerprints a ekọ baby a say the next time no we nya asem na see and see run investigation no next year you take fingerprint all the information will come. We don't have that. And then see sometimes we are reduced to talking. Say kasasa but me say we need, as it were, we need to keep talking just so our leaders, the leadership of the country, will take these matters seriously. Maybe me feel say it is how this matter is handled. The police administration, I believe that so far, no, they've been serious about trying to find out. And it's interesting. The police, they try as much as possible to resolve the issue. We want that kind of attitude. Say the bear, me say, we maybe another done for we are. We say police for at all costs will find the suspect or the culprit. And then say police need a whole kind during the bank robbery. You can see say a billion van robbery. You can see say police administration will put in a lot of effort. So at least when the problem comes, when they are given the, I believe that the resources, they can resolve most of their problems. Yahuma Ediakwesi Nano Adia Ebaya Mranti and so away. Sad, sad, but I believe that look, we need to get the police administration to set up quite a fast way you recruit to Nipa. Na background check, you know, money and that's one day. It shouldn't even come during the recruitment process. I would say maybe in your system you do be information, and I believe that see Vice President Baumia, some of the things are all pushy, say the digitalization of the whole system. Me say will lead to that level one day. Say you bought a national ID card, near Bogu information, it's a computer bimwa. It should reveal everything we know about you. So, idea of police administration, they should also look at it carefully. Go be a bar, the person will come with the national ID card. National ID card, no, see a bogus system, bima, or so bonnie where you papa, why at least basic information about you, it should come out. And so, as a country, I believe that we have to come together and show us a near man. At least, instead of making Agya started, Dr. Bamiam, I started this digitalization. Yamamo de na yamano emwa because see I know say look mekwa ko di bonene echina me ko police a unhunu but say you have a place, a system where you can be traced just by a click of a button okoye boni a usuru and then say ekoba say o person o call into any of the security agencies, there's a way for you to be tracked. I think that is what we are lacking. We have a lot of work to do. Okay. The police administration must be up and doing. Nobody is happy with what is going on. Say, it's a worrisome case, and Mijiri said we all have a responsibility as members of society to speak out. So that's what I would say regarding
John,
that.
Medasi, Sammy, my name is Sir. Would you say we a fine opportunity in your soul mine? Na yede besi sa ye policy hihye mu na ma because police ni ye build no ye build the whole institution for oman dachi nyina enti when the opportunity bia ye nya ebetube gina so ama nsi to ne marie bi ene funso bia ye di kan ye anti ma we no mu ba no ye betume ye free ho moving forward no ye benya police institution a ho nte kora na ye betume nya about 90-95% a ho tie
Agya Kwabena medase amenchia menuanom a we fidie so na menchia ahwefo a magebre we chichi ne bencheye eti udwumedie anope asemo edapono so no Agya Kwabena asemo a ewu hia ye esanse efa oman Ghana ya yewu mu nyina ya ho bambo ho nse so oman bia betumpon so oman bia beyeye a ewo se sa oman na ho bambo etimi gina brane na ekoso kama na wo ba Ghana ahobambo enyuma yokuo ni nyina de eye omodwuma se dada wo ya brabo mo na boban ma oman ni mojo the maintenance of law and order no eya police for dwuma And until the integrity of the police as an institution, ehun hia nipa eyemu adwuma no won su ni won ban ehun hia se police adwuma no yetoto na se na ekoba se won a wo mu ye adwuma no nye nipa ye betumi de ye ho bambo ahye won sa be de koye nipa bonefo awudifo a omo ankasa pese akade ye de ama omo so omo ye ho ban se ye tu se ye de omo yusu ti a omanfo a na je se ye nyina no we are at risk ye nyina na yewu and ohwe se ne oman ni si kona sampempen so no na yedru. None of us are safe because say a police for yena as one mind yafa won adwuma yema won tare yema wa tuo yema wa akade se won fa mo ye ho ban no di pabonefo binuma ko wuramu a enye se adwuma no mo dwen ho na imumu yiyo ene kwa mo befa so edi bone aye ahurikasem ape won ho enya na wo dwen ho. So this issue is very serious. Na ansane ye betumi asolve sa issue you know oh so bisa say we akwenya yenya say sinto bi wo police adwuma yekoni mu a ye betumi apa no pomasi bra na but ansana ye beba hokra no e was say ye hu the cause of the problem e de na masa de we abasa mene menua lawyer dako e ya adwen say se bia nya Ghana nko na ewa police for boni efie bia mensa wo ndi ye den a ubenya nipa ba ko mienu bia omo wo adwumayeku bi mu te se police a omo de omo ye mensa enye adwuma ye de ahye won sa no na wani de akire ne mu boni omo betumi aye apa omo wenya. It is so all across the world, but in pempenso a Ghana ye de na dru no e ya dutwem ye ti bi mpanyi sem sa da se emre bia ba yehu se highway robbery ye ka robbery armed robbers o moto hye ehyen a ye di ko yisika free bank bullion vans once robberies once am ye kan yo asore te se emra ye wo mini na ye se ye kwa ko hwehwe ma chi o mo hye ase a sa nipa o mo hye ase ni mu be nso ya police for. This is not ordinary. We need the normal bad cops and as enkate bonne ba ku bia wa ba be frank enkate papa bibiri. That example ni bia. It is a very very serious issue because yentante asem bi say e wo Ghana. Na de amana basa ne say you see the ekoso ni nyina no a function of leadership. O man bia no say empanyin boni di wusu a wo bere say amamuo boni di wusu a wo bere because problem ya ye ka ho asemi ne kofa ba ye nyina ne fare ba nyina empanyinfo enne omudi enso hwe ansana o mampanyin akufo ado ba wo mi aban ba betena konwa so na ye fa police fo okrum ha obi ate obi ehu kwan ya ye fa so fa police fo jakwam na wuni menye nne na wo fiti ase aye adwuma we ye fa police a ye advert won kowam ema obi biara a office or ye qualified ye kire be bia wutimi ko peke forms o peke forms fail ema wo call interview call all the processes and what we go through processes no na emu da ho fine obroni say transparent and ye di ya police for abai we betena konwa so de na ye hu ye fa police for a ye fa police for wo sumase omo ba ye ben fie miensa fie nan ni ye fa police nye ho advert da nsem tro for maka manu atu. Now is it surprising say ye nya armed robbers at this alarming rate in the police.
Me person me try no, but you see the difference is say you can say na say you per say the SCA ye dey ebo a ban we so but the question is nipa omo ye sa enambranse mu can we say
some kaba
they were
yes we can say so
and we can say so. Is it the case he said the previous regimes no police ni be a recruit no hono so no has been clean?
You never heard under the
I'll give it to you. I just remember
yes sir.
Yes
John Mahammad here konwa so o te da say a police for nso rob bullion banks or rob banks sika otibida nti when ya dey see down dey see you say normal. This is strange. And say you say ade no baby e was the to one fan to a den e free to say nyina you see a solution to this problem there. Let's call a spade and not a digging too. Baby a problem ne wo no yen why ekuro nani ne amia ne preko ne nwu mayenka say oh ye dey ascend you to mampanyi na aban bi. So if they are the problem, yeah, let's say it as it is. Me say President Kofi abedi akonwa na ye MPP mampanyi. President Rollins abedi akonwa, President Mills abedi akonwa, President Mahama abedi akonwa. Omu nyina o mabre so na o mo fa police a ye bo hu dawro wonko wa mu. Meboa. Eja kwamna meboa ka se meboa. Enkomo ne yedi. Obi nka se meboa. Aden na aban wo ya betena konwa so no de fa police fo a on model bia o beti ya fa police because omo party fo nko an ye fa wo mo na say ye wo party fo nko akwa na ye wo e fa wo akenye ye o intitira fo wo party mu na ye fa wo akwa police. Never in the history of Ghana any ye di intitira fo thugs and hoodlums asha ya ho bambo aduma yukumu te said the akoso in the last 5 years and o mampenye kufu ado ne bawumi aban
no unyina so a de
me pato me ba because o monko ani aban a o mo fa police a ye ni suma se dwedie ye modewuro na adwempa ne wo mutimu a enka ye mo modewuro wonko wa mu. So clearly that should tell you said your mo ye na fishy.
No, but
me pato.
They put it online.
They don't advertise it. Yenye bibia online. Debi
na nsem so mo ye ba ko bi ma bibre na koto forms.
Yeah, it's online.
Yam omo moto forms ni nyina yamfa ba akokora. Yam fro bia ma na nko through any process. Ni nyina me pato we ya de a eye a matter on public record. Obi ani notorious fact. Enti as a wonko na wo ye wo Jerusalem. Obi ani say ban we of a police a ye mo hu dawro nye no emamu na ho. Te said ye na ye ne daadaa no. Hwe omo betena so. Unim say last year 18th November, Google it. Ye che armed robbers. A police for che armed robbers. The leader of the armed robbers no ye national security operative. Your friend Joseph Akon. Aban we buy and ye fan. Oko Ghana Weber, national security operative arrested together with robbery suspects, police. Dated Tuesday, 23rd November 2021. Okay, sorry, no, the 4 robbery suspects arrested by police on Saturday. Suspects said to have broken into the homes of their victims and made away with valuables and money. Police have confirmed the arrest of a national security operative amongst a robbery gang known to have been terrorizing residents of Agya and its environs. Inti Agya ne yakoche national security shimbi. Okay? Sa a police if one so ya say omo na adanse aba e so omo bokro no omo robu bullion vansi. Unit ben the police mo ye members of. Enya SWAT. SWAT. Maza. SWAT if we enye omo na the same SWAT ya ye to aba wa ya wo so West Wogon. Ye deploy omo share omo akotare ebi abo masum eyi ye kan say asomade omo hyehyɛ nsomade police ni kura de ka onya abodwese na ohwe ebi mu nwie wo ma no ho abodwese ebi mu kura rastafo omo di chains ma na de ko buru nipa e wa ya wo so West Wogon videos by UTV mu yi ma ye nyina ye hwe bi prepare bi besim na nipa bi dem so mampanyi ote akonwa so onye hu bibia onka ho asem bia eye the same SWAT eye sankrofo na the same krofo na ye hu Al Hassan wo mu a Obu, a sitting member of parliament, Sam George, the same SWAT. The same SWAT are you double womb, an MPP vigilante. So, Kita Tuo, now a short commissioner, a regular assassin who decided that it was wrong for a national security operative to be wielding a gun. Now, you recommend they say, Yanchina so, no man penny say, on China so, name China so China. Nti training now, one national security muno bo MP, Sam George, and so wabona wabono no provokino. When he knows as a lawyer said when it comes to assault provocation is not a defense. And so or clear omunina making sure say on my entry or masono. And the same SWAT for no more robbery. The same national security for na 18th November 2021 last year yom ko robbery. Now say I want it. O man penye kufu ado aso ye. Yes national security for wo ho ya chi omo kita VAs brudu e wo kwa yimo ye galamse meboa one review story no UTV me you dance ni meboa kasa meboa man discussing UTV and these were national security operatives attached to the presidency enye police ni panyi DSP nanka Bruce and asante trafo ebona like it happened in 2017 na ye omo security coordinator and omo twe na se e wo form e wo Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council e simply no se enye omo security coordinator na omo attack na ye a court of competent jurisdiction judge awo painful se bi otie konwam ye chase no e these same people na yafe for national security ne SWAT mu a and omo ye robbery omo ye galamsey and the evidence is there.
So Sabi, what do you think should be done?
This same people and ye did biase soja mu a hwede esi adwira wo Ghana beto ho wo hu say yes soja for enkonko maintain order e wo demonstration ase no mo be ko no omo to warning shot na nipa ni dwane nipa na ye kwa akohwete omu no omu dwane na soja ni abu nkotodwe e di ni wa poma ni turo atenani egeji apeni pa shoot na kunu wo professional soldier wa yesa wo Ghana bagoze muda shooting directly at a member of a protesting crowd or retreating yet to turn bombachi like it happened in Agya and killed people. These are not the normal soldiers we know. These are not the professionals we know. These are the thugs, the hoodlums, the criminals are MPP for war position. Omo flag bearer o mampenya Kufuor ka say ono onya police for ni. So mbetimi abo MPP for ho ban. No declare all die die. No more started say omo ankasa put their security into their hands. Oga binuya ye nim say o MPP ni be na de wo ha as a neutral until you neutral. You were one of the people who wanted to unseat Chimensa Bonsu as an MPP person. Be na de wo ha as a senior lecturer. So anything no be person we no be here to say NDC
MPP never deny his roots.
Exactly. But an of course. Yeah, who deputy speaker Otie Kunyom. Na MPP to check. Me enka Ghana. But still asem no. Also Otewa na ne ho hyehye no press and no. It is how Sankrofo ya Omampenya Kufuor do ma Samia Wukumu around the country quantitative Delta Force, Invisible Forces, Boligatanga Bulldogs, Abronye Babies, Voter Crocodiles. Sankrofo na MPP for nya 2 million. Afi na almost says nyema contractor we ani akwa attack no court ani omo yes okay any MPP information. And ye di bia national security. National security SWAT one year my question no and the short commission recommended say sa force no unconstitutional yengu no omanpenyisi mimu no because I was say tax now mo ye adwuma boa me nya power no so edidi enti we rejected the wise recommendation of the short commission to disband that armed force. Sankrofo na na o ma police mu Sankrofo na na di bia kwakwo soja mu enti sa wurika sami a ekoso yi me say omumu dodo na why abrante na ye chain no ye chain na ono ne ye torture na man confess say one oye police ni o no ne yonko police for na e bokro no a ye friend Pablo no da ko check it da be ne fa no SWAT ko check it Pablo ye fa ne da be
no but you see
Pablo ye fa ne da be and you see that is the problem.
You see you don't want to go
so the solution is say the solution is say
why
yeah as politicians especially aban oteso no na akofa problem we aba we need to be honest na sa elements na ye be o ma police ni mu dada no na ye nim say they are not supposed to be there no ye nyi omufi na the normal way I dey for police for soldier for ye go back to that. Na afe ye nyai ye fa police fo a ye nyema bibia mu nya den na wo fine na so obi kura e wo obi hu asem ka se nipa ye a wa ba se ye mfa the police or criminal record na baby Ghana ye system said do no we are not able to check like other advanced country are able to check and know say nipa record obi eja kwam na nim say ye fa criminal bi woni area no nim nipa record you be go catch police for say akwa we mamon fa no o ti bro no ha krono ni ntitira asem nko a but say okoye no kokoom ti say de moye na mo de muntitira fo na ehye mu a we na beba ahwe ye beti mpo no na sa nkrofo we ya omo de bomb akwache terminal 3 so omo kwa akoto no because omo starting kakra omo de figalam say na afi di ayawa so ne yebu nipa na edwira December 7th about omo kun nipa wotwe eye these same people ene ne omo nya adwuma bi anya omo twa omo robo banks na lastly eye me nwanwa pa say minue say eye kwan a police for be fast handle asem win here so now no dey so far no who's a police why is serious a police for kwan fast handle asem why is serious Kwabena no dey serious asem we kwan ye fast so see no say your man bi so aka IGP no be resign masa what to say bonne kese to say robbery of bullion vans banks ikesi na ya chi 2 suspects a omo ya police for yan kan kire Ghana for omo Ghana for amane say ya chi 2 suspects omo ya police for omo say ya torture sa 2 people no am omo kire baby a omo colleagues omo ne omo bokro no ehye wa ahyaman enti ye akwachi omo colleagues no na ye sa site ho na 2 suspects now omo na ye the only witnesses we have no near the omo di echi ya chi omo dada wo ye the omo di echi say mo na mo wo evidence a mo nim baby akronfo aka ne hye mo ni echi ne enko site wo say na be ya ye duru a ye be ka che mo nuanom an Roberts ne say ye the omo ba wo we no mo na wo evidence say mo so mo bokro no ni bi no nti mo nkum omo na mo nhye omo ase na asem no asem what bi mpegi nsem da mo chi 2 suspects no ma mo Ghana for amane mo ko site ho na omo akire mo se ho na omo police omo de omo bokro no wo no na mo de omo di mo achi akọ site ho mo de omo ko ya ye totutuo no omo wu ye nipa mienu pe 2 policemen na ye di ka akire omo ne wu ye omo aye ko pe omo akire omo ne yanche ba akokra asa anado ma na same way anado ma na same wo ka akire akokra obeje di why will you take the 2 suspects out omo na ye the only witnesses you have more information about this crime to the that crime scene now wo kwa kwachi that is when you know so mo wo kwa kwachi omo no mo kitatuo na mo ko ya mo ko exchange gunfire no mo etinye nkum omo amu ntimi nchi omo no mu ba akokra mienu na mo di omo ko crime scene ho no a omo na machi omo dada mo ndi esie Ghana for abon kan kire no omo ne yekum omo so you are cleaning the sheet you are now suppressing the evidence. Where your professional conduct, where your serious conduct.
All right.
So because your main topic was your but let's call a spade a spade and not a digging tool.
Okay.
A choir about where your first one for police for the one that share a police money other security agencies mono and your crime okay we MPP new we NDC new you must condemn it and let's go back to the old system now under Papa Rollins Papa Kofo ne ye adwuma ye for police ye man ye mamu da ho ne for the right people no and yes sir na ban we to aso say ya me say enche obo the bomb ba ko she terminal 3 because onipa bia no de wudua no I don't know which
I know quite the empire and bomb the empire na so can be briefly answer now
yes
yeah so me you asem kaka just in reaction
to briefly by 1 minute 2 minutes
yes so na me nia ka say
some party let me visit konde Kwabena pass
just for the purpose of the objective I think
just some few points so first of all me feel say police for no o ma dwuma ne de o ma yero so mo ye me ka so ma ya de no to the extent say o ma timi acha man for at least I mean who say o mo ayonko police for na ye say dwuma no na they were out there to go and arrest them for me it's a good thing they are the part na o mo ye and meanwhile listen I agree with you say the police for these 2 guys a can wo mo a call operation amomu ko wuye no enye ade I can never sit here and defend that. You cannot praise the police for doing this. If you say a idea, the top police officers should look at and really investigate. Because the way when they need me no investigation, that's a whole cooperation there. I don't think say ne kwanso say odi umu ebeko na umi aku how the 2 of them that least marks to be desired. And yet idea me say obia any ho. So we see when it's wrong, some of us will look at it and say this is wrong. Okay. But if we say at least the first one mutimi a investigation who say the air cost winning or say bomb about because one of the issues we criminal has one way who ni pebi ekuwu na the kokachi police for intimi enya ho hwe asem be ho sesa na edipa no unhu nipa okun no and so unhu nipa okun no na se edi nipa na sem na edi ne koto afiase a e ma some closure bi a obi apɛ so we should at least let the police know say do mo ye na eye no ye ni so na the enya no so ye nka but at 2 points Minua has been insisting say about way a recruitment me just say ye nyina and in say recruitment generally no or main of the police in fact security agencies no issue but me dem nim say ni nyina no eba ebeto nipa bebrebe me where I sit there are so many times and every time people are coming so police for recruitment obetimi aboy police for recruitment.
Now what will be in the last 3 years?
Oh, let's not divert the conversation. Yeah.
So my point is that no, listen, my brother, my point is that the information is out there, is put online. It's anyone who person who calls security agencies, they go there and check. Now the last point I'm a person maker. Now and idea I'm a person make cry, but my good brother kept pushing, saying about we Crawford, about we Crawford. You see, Kwabena or what's that case? When was he recruited into the police officer? Any idea?
What about Pablo?
Okay, so Pablo, if Pablo was recruited in 2017, now Kwabena was recruited in 2016.
Now the morning question,
see, now Kwabena was recruited in 2016. I said, no. You read your mama brothers who could do Nippon Bone. And anything that measure Asiaka say everywhere in the world there is dirty cop. Yes, was recruited under the NDC era. No, so but these were the issues me I wanted to discuss because Kobasa now of course you per se justified the CN,
which is the point I want to make.
So what I say, idea SCN and yet it cannot be justified. So for me, whether the person was recruited in 2017 or 2016, it's not the issue. The issue is say a nipa umu police ni umu ya Ghana for umu ya idea bonia yenka unim your problem o member kun say so could di boni na so NPP ni and na so NDC ni you can bet me say once you flash the party color you go scot-free because MPP for Bible defend and that's the NDC for a Bible defender. That is what we have to get away from.
My name is Sana. Just 30 seconds. Are you two suggesting say NDC you contribute to an increase in the rate of crime? Yeah, crime na say my because you're a political party and as MPP for by their actions or inactions contribute to the increase in the rate of crime. Yeah, discuss the causes and solutions of that problem now. My more MPP deal because a crime now.
You see, is a politicization.
The other problem when you have considered say it is you require your first of funny Paco police recruitment. They are considered. Now, if I am showing you say in the last 5 years that recruitment is being done in a very opaque environment, which you know is a fact.
If you put it in 5 like
because before the 5 years, you are transparent.
Okay.
Say my young campaign now, no, for police for a sumaseno, my young money deal. And no, I mean, your cousin will be about my idea about the digitization. And you have a encourage it. And no, you will papa, no, we have be born in the Amayan.
Former Director General the bread to do the Comofia.
I'm not complaining about recruitment.
Or also Casade found say, no, a commandant's war, a depo. Now, Nabresono, Omu make sure say, Omo recruit to Omuia, Wabebano, Obeba say, Edutama be we as some Swia, Omo Makivia, Omo the Bebo, into Bano Bebe, say, would deal with one as a qualifier. Then, will be some time, no, and so that you know,
police for are worried
that most of the things are Minua most of them, but I disagree with him vehemently on the first point, which is me. I'm robbers are robbing me that. Oma fameka, edito esimiso 2 warning shots, right? The unprofessionalism of me call police. I called the police that night. Sebi, I said nipa kro no emfa no ho. When I called, I went to the police station the next day. Case no se besi ene no mo be hu ase a
no name.
Minim.
Okay.
So the first point I want to say is that personally I've been robbed at gunpoint. Yajimeka. It's not the politicization of the problem of the issue is the first thing. It is not to say no moye or more mudika police or otherwise. But the point is the issue of professionalism or otherwise of some policemen go way back. And yen na yebeja to say Ghana ye perception index of corruption and sebi adwumaya omuhia en kan kokakra. Police will rank one of them. And that perception did not start in MPP or NDC. So the first thing I vehemently disagree with my brother here is that, you see, and I don't blame him, of course, politicians will do politics. No, it's important. But the first point, the first point to make is that it is important we depoliticize the issue. I agree with him to the extent that there are some security concerns in this government. I think that security-wise, some of the concerns in this government began right from the beginning of the term. So I agree with him there are security concerns. But I also think that to politicize it in the way he did would be very unfortunate for the purposes of the conversation.
One sentence.
Second topic.
Politics. Politics can be a source, okay, of the degeneration of professionalism in the police force. Politics. Say the politics effort for the police professionalism I mean you have some peka and in that case the cause of the problem will be politics. And so in addressing that problem you can't leave the politics out. May catch them say the police recruitment based on fairness and based on merit. Now professionalism no echo form. They say you have police for no you model Rubium, you what there. That problem is politics. What do you mean can you politicians in field?
No, but see,
now politicians in this one, or my fast system now, but no more the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Federal President Kufuado. Obi can't say we were bought by Womia Basos on the digitization.
The way Sammy keeps insisting, say police recruitment any them no. I just want him to. It's not the case. The announcement is there. The announcement is there. I can show it to you, Sammy. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
But in the last 3-4 years,
is this not published online? Is this not the police administration? 2022-23 online recruitment process. Is it not the case? I'm saying that it has always been the case. I just showed you the 2022 one.
2019, a police fire for more Ghana. BNY. As a result of say advert.
Some you consider the adverts are done.
No, from 2019, 2020,
19, 20, and
21. 18, 19, 20.
Yes.
Police for a phone, you know, Obia the wa or no Ankasa call your quarter forms. Now online. Sammy, I
don't have the facts about
I beg to differ. I know, dear. I beg to say, able to see, able to see a Boaka say. Obia ni wa.
I want to be still Boa. Why should I be see to be see a Boaka? Unim police in here last year.
But let's not reduce the conversation to
forms.
Okay, me patrol. And can no na for police are here. Your border rule.
Sure.
2021 2020 yefa police ye nko wan krata mu
many a she be
they be review this paper wa wo bi
many a she so there
and one more police ko a onu advert won ko wan krata mu no koto form and wa apply me fa the police
yes me ma hu bi
okay me that say ye nim say ye kan nyina no asem na fa na bobo bentin kakra ka betuna hwe na yetumi aye na ye wan hwe won say your time no okay you obey 50 your time kakra o you betumi the right say saa ho me kura yin book ye kura me ena eye omen mrapon yen constitution na answer na e be kosa topic we so no mesre say producer say mo wo Joe Wise video na mo di kan boy na mo na fi based on that no yen share conversations na
ma mention san komo we ase
o say
ma mention san komo na
me ma sha smart wada roma enti mi pa cho mo voice ne ma me na fi ye ma so pan sha se ma ye mi pa cho.
Other members, when it comes to the question of voting, it is very clear. Any time any of the deputy speakers or any other member elected to preside is in the chair, that member does not vote. That has never been in dispute. Any time a member is presiding, either the deputy speaker or a member who by necessity is elected from among members to preside, that person does not. Other members, when it comes to the question of voting, it is very clear. Any time any of the deputy speakers or any other member elected to preside is in the chair, that member does not vote. That has never been in dispute. Any time a member is presiding, either the deputy speaker or a member who by necessity is elected from among members to preside, that person does not. Other members, when it comes to the question of voting, it is very clear. Any time any of the deputy speakers or any other member elected to preside is in the chair, that member does not vote. That has never been in dispute. Any time a member is presiding, either the deputy speaker or a member who by necessity is elected from among members to preside, that person does not.
Where first deputy speaker of parliament, Unyanfo Joseph say, Joe Wise and Anna Walkersano, or can say it is clear, and with the whole fine says, Kobasa a beer. Piamo Omra Sebejum, a speaker, and you want us here, Nabedi chain, as a Nabedi short of Suminu, and now Sam Sebejum, be a yen, say, one continue, says speaker no, said do about to our Boni who quine, say what to about, and with our say fine. Now, so Supreme Court to say, Sigina said, Debbie. Saa asem na ewo standing orders ya parliament use no mu e de ya adwuma no mu no saa asem no say da nyin na so esan say onipa na ye ni first or second third fifth whatever speaker no or represent the constituents e wo mra sebedwa mu ho enti the sokot na adwa mu sem na sebedwa ni speaker still na no ni dua no aye the constituency wo sori a na ni pedua ni nyina akokwe constituency no enti otumi to aba so which is which yaw wose me ma won sha se enti mo asha se me mo asemadu
me da se
na hwe yehwe
komo no wakakra but simadu meyere me ho de di kan Mr. I think komo na fi a strange place and ejakoma wadaroma mekan bra no so with your permission mekan bra no in order to give it context I'm starting from a very strange place which is 2952 2952 say a reference to a holder of an office by a term designating his office shall, unless the context otherwise required, be construed as including a reference to a person for the time being lawfully acting in the performance of the function of the office. The Edikan, they say ordinarily no. So be kuta tumia. Nothing. The kuta tumi no. So ni ona so be seen a name. Constitution they say ye kasa tumi no wasema. And so to me no includes obi obesi na nine bia so niwa. And to say in this particular case, you can't speaker as the constitution says, the normal interpretation according to 295 should ordinarily include the deputy speakers in terms of its privileges and boundaries. But there is an interesting part in 2952, which is unless the context otherwise requires. Inti say yeti speaker akonya no restrictions ne privileges are ordinarily in understanding the restrictions no. I also be obeba betena sa akonya subia no. Yede sa restrictions no. No, unless the context otherwise requires. So that's the first place I'm starting from. Now, 2958 says that no provision of the Constitution or any other law to the effect that a person or authority shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority in the performance of its function under this Constitution or law shall preclude the court from exercising jurisdiction in relation to the question of whether or not the person has performed the functions in accordance to Constitution or law. The atosu me no make and say in as much as say yeti author to me biasia na akonya biasia ne the obetna so in the short term no interpretation should cover him no the power say the Constitution no in same biabama irrespective of the body in charge the Supreme Court has the powers as a way to interpret that law or to interpret the Constitution. The atosu me yensa mechanic say over 29-page decision yensa kan enra awiamu ho na 17.5 pages, which is 60% of it, is dedicated to background issues and preliminary observations. That is important. In the court, no, there were 3 questions. Nema mi yensa no muya no. But answer no mube sa questions and decision here 29 pages. But almost spending 60% of the time talking about other things which in my opinion are extremely important to understand the decision they came to, which is the context of the decision. The atoso na mechanic say court no starting na no mukache as a case here or moody. This is the first impression in the jurisdiction of Ghana. It's yes asema your president and I say so absolutely. Into this is I've heard conversations about Speaker Agya making similar decisions in 2015 in Parliament, but as it pertains to the court and a decision binding in the nature of the Supreme Court, this is the first time the court is called upon, and I have record to know. So all the issues here are determined not on precedent because there is no precedent, and so it comes to emrano omo sebi omoti akonwa so no omonti ase wo mranimu and the general jurisprudence of the law. Niema miensa na norm yi ano niema miensa be na norm yi ano nti abeka say the issues of the case. The dikan omo say whether or not upon a true and proper interpretation of Article 102 and 1041 of the Constitution, a Deputy Speaker of Parliament or any other member presiding in the absence of the Speaker can be counted as part of members present before a decision is made. Until the Edikan Ebusan say, so okay 102 and 104 Boma. Obi Otia Kunyama any speaker no. Medical can say speaker no, the interpretation ordinarily should be construed to include a deputy unless the context otherwise admits. In that particular case, no, the Otia Kunyan can we say or chair or informing a quorum for the determination of a decision, no, Yabeka na Kawana, the question Edika no. Question Editosum you say ye kai na ye quorum na say ye to abana obetumi to be ana. And a question Editosum and say 30th November 2021 decision na Parliament making say budget no is approved no. So a year ram and I saying yeah. In the question is we me answer. Yeah. And court in the year no. The Edika Mecca say I want to read something from page 9 of the decision. Which quoting Justice Colony, who wrote the decision, he says that the desperate interpretation proffered by the parties exclusively implicated by the standing orders, procedures, and practice of Parliament. Without more, we would have had no difficulty in reaching a conclusion that
Parliament is and ought always to be the master of its procedure, order, practice, without hindrance from the court. The other kind of may address is when they say, court and they say, a same way, no questions, no mubusano. Say, questions are ne fapem, kwaya parliament, faso yen a juman kwa dia. Enka court to any shake our home. Daintia, because at Article 110, 110, I say, subject to the Constitution, Parliament may be the master of its own rules and procedure. Into Parliament, senior ekano, but they are subject to the Constitution. So as far as omudi omono, omutimi shisho omumra, kwaya omufaso omuya omoniema. So the court on page 9 affirms that and says that to the extent that if this was expressly and exclusively bordering on procedure, and I say, "Kwaya omufaso omuya omoniema nkwa dia."
Akanya de ma Supreme Court obisi ginaye.
So omun can be. No omun can say we Parliament asem. Inti as it pertains to Parliament, you know, the way of doing things, Constitution is omunya omoniema. But they go on and say omuwo akwanya under Article 130 in what we call exclusive original jurisdiction. Say ye can Constitution mu nchirechire mu ene mu ejumaya court ba ko pe ne timi chirechire Constitution mu, which is the Supreme Court. Having determined those matters, so on my ni ansem buano, the ambiguities that that pertains to 104.1 and 102 and read together no they wouldn't have made that opportunity, they wouldn't have optimized that opportunity. Into for that purposes omubeyano. The question born out of that page 9, the text of the judgment in page 9, say questions we should ask. Is the questions, the three questions now, does it then border on substantive constitutional right or it borders on procedure? And this is a very important question. Indeed, do we answer the question in the sense that our question is me and sana court is it a question of procedure for which Parliament has a sole right to? I was a Parliament in and I say it pertains to a constitutional right. So our constitution has given them that right for the purposes of determining. The court does not ask this question. Question where I am a question in order to progress the analysis. My answer to that is that it is both. The question is in part a question of process or procedure, but it is also a question that borders significantly on constitutional right. And that is why in common are making extreme difficult conversations. It's ordinarily because the case way is one of the difficult conversations. One way baby but having said that, I've heard that people make the argument say because it borders on procedure, the political question doctrine, which says that say constitution, they say abain fa could be say executive and a parliament now say we are court nini who quite so but I think that the cases are clear. Say that doctrine is not applicable in Ghana. There are quite a number of cases. But even beyond that, the judgment recognizing say a processor, it is completely delineated to Parliament. And I say a Parliament before so I Parliament dear. But we acknowledge say the court will acknowledge say the context is important. The also a make a say a constitution now. Parliament is not sovereign. And the history, the political history tells it. But by 1960, now Parliament me or pebia. But in this constitution, Parliament is subject to the constitution. Having said that, now to answer your question directly, Jinayena or Messi no. Question is me as I did kind. For the purpose of quorum, court no ye Agya could be. He distinguished quorum under 102 from quorum under 1041. Into a case ye see Jina ye share or more. Ye kase quorum or more about them no. Ye soon number na ye debe see Jinayena.
I see a kind of can be.
Yeah, I see a kind of can. The court in the year and they say obtain them under 102 to say the quorum for which the business of Parliament will begin is different from the quorum which is necessary for determination of a decision. Kwan ben of us so obesi say gina no. Or say if you look at 102 it's very clear. Say constitutional framers no and they shall say any person presiding on
obi biara
otia konya no so no yenkan ne nkan. That's 102.
Okay.
But 104 is very specific to the speaker. Emramu, and I'm sure some of you are not Latin for say will be a friend expressio unus est exclusio alterus, which basically says say your Bobby Bidia, the mention of one excludes another. Into say your body near say a pen pencil. Say man can chalk no could mean say imagine and yes a mirror is a chalk or but the fact that I've mentioned one thing means that it is intentional to exclude the other. And it's a canon of interpretation of things like that. The first thing is the basis on which it reached that say you can't koroma under 102 no 104 and so then term no this Latin phrase amaka
102 no esi sudia say obi ya pound say ometi na dwam say speaker sa woni no tumi owo say emrahye badwani a sa ebra na speaker ho no wote emrahye badwam o tumi yi nsam ahodoro no ye tumi kan de ka ho no sa tumi no owo no afri ni sa say ni ya elevating to level bi a o tumi ye tumi kan ne nka ho say da pache 102 no
for the purposes of quorum say quorum ni a number here answer ya certain common into 102 ni say answer ni be sha say ye be share parliament adwuma ya se no. I also 1/3 of all members of parliament should be present, right? Into 1/3 no, which is about 92, 93, wherever you put it, right? Into sa number no, sa diotia dwamuno nka ho, as an yetimi parliament adwuma say. But under 1041 no, for the purposes say answer ni ebesi gina ye no, yes 138. And that's, let me just read 1041, which says, except as otherwise provided in this constitution, matter shall be determined by the vote of the majority of members present and voting, conjunctive, with at least half of all members of parliament present. You didn't say half, you're 137, at least. And see, the question is, oh, kind or more here, I see Jinayana.
Yes.
Sir, 102, I don't know, say, the Otakunyan and kind in Kahono. 104 no be kind na kawana. But court ne say there is a canon of interpretation which says say your body ba kudin specifically it means that they are excluding no intentional. The second issue court is obetimi ato aba na. In the questions of in answering the question say obetimi ato aba na omuko 97:1. No says say answer na obey speaker of parliament no. Wait me a member, but you are appointed as Speaker of Parliament. I also do a konya. So basically, the Speaker and your member is distinguishable. And then they go to 1042 and 1045 to say the Constitution is clear. Kwaya abra being to mean to aba. Abra abino ne beye juma oye ni abino ne beye juma no oye omu nipa anase ebia say law firm miwom any aban be sign contract na parliament na met parliament I was me declare ka say law firm we media inti aba we mean to be inti because the constitution was very clear in the determination of an exclusion of brown to mean to abano for the purposes of 1042 untimi nka say dia yato abaso ombejina non to abano on count. But you see there's something very interesting in that decision. Page 23, it says that in view of the foregoing, we are compelled, and the choice of words is very important, we are compelled that the speaker does not lose their right to vote. This is the text of the decision. Until we are compelled that it does not lose their right to vote when they are presiding. However, it must be emphasized that the procedural and operational rules to practicalize the protection of the constitutional right is an exclusive domain of Parliament itself. In the decision where the actual effect of it is to say, we have made a declaration, because a member representing a constituent, member, you don't lose that constitutional right. But in terms of determining the process, so waiting at Parliament now, it's still a question for Parliament to determine.
I think that it's just the process. It's not for Parliament to determine. Say, wait me out for a bar now. It's the process.
But the process enables you to. But that is important.
But the question is whether or not we can vote. It's not for Parliament to decide.
That is the determination. But you see, it has a procedural effect. You see, it has a procedural effect.
Now that is
the moment you are Ujitum say or the exclusive domain for the purpose of determining the process by which the person has a right should exercise that. The question is one of two things. Are you talking about the right as it is in a casting vote or original vote? The original vote is that which he comes with from the constituency into the ordinary constituency by a original vote. For the purposes of the nature of Parliament now, the 109, which is the procedure in Parliament, says that you do not have a casting vote
in Parliament.
Parliament. And that is what is being constitutional review. We struck out that procedure in Parliament. So the real question is, as it pertains to the constitutional right, it exists as declared by the court. And I tend to agree with the court. But they are careful to go and tell us, even in places that right exists, Kwaya or Mofaso or more exercising that right in other countries, Kenya, US, UK, Canada, they do a whole comparative study, our decision, and say, in exercising it, they should still maintain the impartiality of the speaker. Now, that is the difficulty in the decision for which I would have suggested. Say it would have been better to have left the person presiding because of the nature of Parliament now, which is what we call living constitutionalism. Read the Constitution in the context of the time and say that he has the power for a casting vote, because you cannot maintain the principle of impartiality and still maintain an original vote.
I want to say for now. Say no, you find say be a one who kwansi utum koto aba na me esi gina. Enti no, with that no, you find say e bia e wo mu say dia na de ode asem no court no ehwe kwanse court Supreme Court for ebetumi a chirechire mu no enka da me bebi say hu de na so no eno so ye court dwumedi ahodo mu di Parliament or dwumedi mu di na bi sa onom eye mnahye bedwani na speaker eni ho na wabetine dwam say speaker no they say yekase yenkoto aba yensi gina ya obetumi esi gina ni bi wobeto aba fine na se koba say e bia minister bi aba sector minister bi aba na so mu debate on a particular issue bi. That's an issue no and the constituency na e kan pa o tie dwamu sabre no ono abetumi afre no ho se opese ono so kire na adwene e wo debate no ho na that is where me question kakra wonti ma ono sina me question wo
in answering the question directly enter Mr. Free 29295 say a speaker deputy speaker ordinarily should be interpreted to include the speaker in your question directly. Speaker, no, the core principle is that he should be impartial, or at least have a semblance of it. Say, oh, you're impartial.
Yes.
So, for the purposes of that arbiter being impartial, no, I would say he should maintain that neutrality.
Okay.
However, the question is in context. If you do not interpret the Constitution in a way that gives him some casting vote of a sort, you would make Parliament almost unruly. For the purposes of the fact that it's a hung Parliament.
Okay.
And so in that interpretation, I agree with them in part of the conclusion.
Okay.
But the approach as to how to come to it is what I defer.
Okay.
Indeed, I would say he cannot maintain the original vote he comes with from the constituency and still be a neutral empire.
Okay.
But in terms of the nature, because of the living constitutionalism and the context of the time of the Constitution, he should at least be giving a casting vote because of the nature of Parliament.
Maybe sa question. Me say baso me ure me bedru so na bia be say isa se mo no amame a. Joy.
Yeah.
Ekoba nyina no. Eye eku ahodo miensa wasam ne yeka. Ye hwe executive a wo mo wo ho, wo mo de wo mo ho. Judiciary omo de omo ho legislature omo so omo de omo ho ba koba say bia asem bi e fan kra book we ho aye constitution ho a aye judiciary no omo na betua kirikiri mu am yedru ba bia yedru ba wotie standing orders and procedure in parliament a omo mra wo ma hyehe omo de ye adwuma said ya ajagefo so ye judiciary so omo hyehe no omo mra omo de ye adwuma o mo so mu dwumadie mu okọ executive wa mampani aso enso a won so mo hyehyɛ mo de adwuma won so mo hyehyɛ mo de ɛwɔ hɔ enti no wenu mo hyehyɛ mo de sei ene ye bɛyɛ no constitution no so kyerɛ sɛ sɛ ɛne sana so bɛtire adwam sɛ wo yɛ speaker ho kwan a wowɔ sɛ bia bɛto aba no eni hɔ sɛ de yɛwura jo sɛ wusu ɛkan yɛ sɛ ɛyɛ clear mu da hɔ fine sei yakɔba sɛ wɔn sɛ speaker no eni hɔ a de obesi na na betumi ato aba no does that mean say and na bibi say debate bi ba na so mu debate na assembly for no constituency ho a obetu opagya ne saka say me nso assembly because constituency na fa party no me yes honorable member myself speaker member myself na honorable speaker cheche ni nsemu ana
minua me da me de asem we nyina ko ba de manije ewom me gidi se minua no me mba ya dwen ne se Ghana ha sisi no asem ba yemfa aba ne sekan enye na ye de kodan ye court ne ye court no ekasem
ya
me gidi se nyina so enim se ye Supreme Court ene na ye court batan o kasa na ewiem ayedin
yes
nti free enra na ebe na san na ebesi nei Supreme Court asema waka no de very clear obia entimi enye ho achinye final final to the extent say deputy speaker or obetimi atena adwam what's na adwam na say ye kan nipa ama ye de atoaba o parliament itimi kan no eka ho bi ye 104 no ena ono akoya no so no obi a obetimi atoaba o hwe parliament almost standing orders I know na omudi regulate who said they work no so obi a one dey parliament one dey judiciary so omudi and executive no ewomudi no and okra ni say wo ye ka say yemra ne fa di baby a wono so a fa bo ho ban a wontimi nyemra ebe sene constitution no that is the key thing wontimi parliament entimi enkoye mre bia for instance ebetimi any parliament na or either say even an act of parliament and now say almost standing orders no akoye mra say no parliament mra obi entimi nka ho asem bia if it's an act of parliament or standing orders that act of parliament or that standing order will be struck down as unconstitutional because constitution we know eno ne nyina ye mra pon na constitution say mra bia ebeye bia no say e de mra kro no etoto sa constitution we hwehwe se mra no eye mra papa ana se enye mra papa eno ntina eye the first speaker Joe Wise ade ana obono TV so na make say at the time no ana yewura Joe Wise e ka sa asem no he had in mind the rules of parliament
yes
or that the 1093 I know na eno ema omu tumi eno a kire say woti adwama we speaker now ti adwama untimi ento aba
so what does the constitution say about it say we speaker to there standing orders in parliament you know say eno na e ka ne sa constitution na ye gina so e de ebu o man no eno say den na ka fa ho say wo kotena ho a
utumi see eno na menua e try so he did a very good I wanted to say that he did a very good analysis you see o hwe said your constitution no ayena
yes
speaker of parliament clearly no any kwan so your parliamentarian your man say we a member of parliament can you as a speaker or say we do wudumadi na
to say parliamentarian
as a parliamentarian and to speaker of parliament no by the creation of our constitution or your member of parliament is different from other parliaments so for instance over US omu house so house no the speakers can be members in fact they are supposed to be members and it's Nancy Pelosi our speaker no or say California a state rep it will free California and aba as a representative and ya any speaker omumra no e makwan sa ya mra no the chairman says so we a speaker o not first deputy speaker or second deputy speaker speaker no when you member of parliament.
Yeah.
It will know what to about. Clear. Now the two others we also free parliament no. They are members of parliament and they retain their right to vote at all times. And not that Supreme Court Akam says so long as they remain members of parliament, their right to cast votes cannot be taken away from them. And the standing orders 1093 Supreme Court are striking out say as unconstitutional. So what that means is standing orders first and second deputy speakers de to abano free woman sem
standing orders in parliament
standing orders in parliament
free woman sem
and no Joe Wise can say any so obvious say what's na PM as first or second deputy speaker won't mean to abano sana na mranity until no Supreme Court says that provision no unconstitutional. That provision, that standing orders, that particular 1093, unconstitutional to the extent say, to me, first and second deputy speakers, no, to abano,
our parliament,
our parliament.
A dinner, a year so, what I may say, a dear son, a constitution, and Casanca, a can't edify say speaker, Niwa, do obedina dear, so or tear drum say. Sitting speaker no a dear potin as only no saw yes a coba say be a form of quorum and I say be a beto abanin as a phone one a dear potin constitution and sang so a cadifer no so
you see constitution is a bibia and a bit miaka but at least the army who say a member of parliament
yes
or two miss or two aba speaker no the first deputy speaker and the second deputy speaker by reason of these positions here you don't lose your right to vote. So that interpretation any area.
Okay.
And can say the first deputy speaker at nase or presiding over parliament. Obetimi atuaba and now to mean tuaba. It's not stated that in the constitution. But what constitution you namely say first deputy speakers and second deputy speakers are members of parliament who at all times retain their right to vote. They never lose it unless say the meaning kind there's conflict of interest. Assembly aba parliament wo wasem ewomu bi ye to ho aba
and the only who can say
and no na so the constitution has expressly stated when your right to vote can be taken away from you and that is when there's this conflict of interest issue.
Okay.
It is so long as you sit as a member of as a presiding officer now we are not talking about conflicts of interest. Now you buy here to as a parliamentarian who go for the one by represent who and who was near Kadia. Who to me say or to Sabani be. And I think that my brother did a good job with the 102 104. Will be a mama de no read judgment, you know. And what 29 pages and what you clearly see say Supreme Court very clear, fantastic. And running no much come. So we have 102 now. Also see a form quorum. It's a member of parliament Monday morning. I'm going to start Tuesday morning. You call parliament and by 10 a.m. You say okay, bet me start the business of parliament. Any part here and OC kind. Any part no say you kind. Say any panel or na. If you look at our constitution, it means any party a German. Any can say can be. And when you person they started business of parliament. And into 1/3, you know, young kind report say genuine and very clear. This does not admit of any controversy. 104, no, clearly, no, it doesn't state that. And it doesn't take away the presiding person's right to vote, or even for forming a quorum. Or says here forming a quorum, you need 1/2. And he says, and them say, in 102, when you are forming quorum to start business of parliament, you know, the constitution is very clear, and when the presiding person is free. But in 104, no, quorum for voting, you need presiding person and free.
And 104, they didn't put in the case.
104 say, except as otherwise provided in this constitution, matters in parliament shall be determined by votes of majority of members present and voting with at least half of all the members of parliament present. Half of all the members of parliament present. And it or no deputy speaker, and I say either first or second deputy speakers. No, there are members of parliament present to determine say this half. No, you can say except maybe the presiding person. The presiding person was not accepted, and it is all a member of parliament now was had them Hong Kong dia. Oka say 1/2 no. Ye kan nipa so mu ye presence and ya Kwabena. We are member of parliament in Kwandia or see a can okay. But say ye be start adwuma na fe Tuesday morning yaba na nipa e wo ho no wo deputy wo presiding person and aka ho me so quorum na is it 92 or 93 no and ye na mra say ye ntimi for me quorum because 102 ni claim it takes the presiding member away
from the members of parliament present
see to determine quorum
no.
The presiding person is free.
Inti afan say, I see enya 94.
Yes.
And na yekonya 93. Okay, you fan say enya 94.
Yes.
And na 94 na ekoye no. The oti adwamu a oyem na hyebedwani no e wo hobi. Inti ono ye beyi na free mu. Inti ye ni free mu na be ka 93.
You inform me.
Minister inform korom.
Any of the parliament.
Okay. Inti eno eye emra 102 no e ka de ato wo. Good. Inti say waka eno de ato wo awie dia. Why then should we esamba back beka say 104 na yakase say ono kwotere dwoma yi ni free mu o man to me for mu korom no enti ase yekofi kwotena say de nya korom ya san aba no at the same vein no sa odipa kro na so du baby so esama no ho kwan say e wo mu sa to me for mu korom no edu about to be to be man ye
eno na me as a mini akanti na man community na
okay
because this provision no 102 no has expressly stated see any sir presiding person in 104 no yan can be asa and this yaka say me your chalk your pen and your pencil me near the throw me gwa it because you fa near my the throw emra you fa pen any pencil emra me nim pass chalk ho and me ye film and it won't me emfa by force emfa chalk no machine it expressly 102 no has stated say presiding person when you are forming quorum for business of parliament presiding person in Kaho. Okay. But 104, ye koye business, ye kotoa bano dia, was see here half of the members present and take it away the presiding person and free. Say constitution can you see ye presiding person free man. He bet you say ye free.
Okay.
But any free.
That's 102 no can say you bet you a year free 104 no there one a silence on
silent.
Okay.
And I'm silent say half of members present at the chamber no say speaker can ho in this person, the first or second deputy speakers, they form the quorum.
Now say a silence on it. I said I can't pencil the pen. Any chocolate shares one. Pen pencil the chalk and say I did try the family. Yeah, the video so can. A coffee pen pencil. And a
so pen I said
about pen pencil.
Do you make I say yes, Uncle Fabidi and Macron? I did the truth.
And you know, what's saying to me and fan conco and confirm Madia. And ye adentina say ye can sadia and na 104 no and from so be one can see to me e see bibi so do one na ye nsintina ama say gina see yakokoba
104 no you see it says with half of all members of parliament present half of all members of parliament the first who speaker no doesn't and as who first or second deputy speaker no doesn't take away his right to be a member of parliament. It was very clear. So when it comes to determination of votes in the national matters, there half of all members present.
When so much to be at Waba.
Just to form the quorum at least. It's one where a member of parliament.
Okay.
And what's name we say or speaker where first or second deputy speaker. It doesn't take away his right to be a member of parliament. It doesn't take away his right to vote. And anything now standard orders 1093 no. Constitution Supreme Court say a violation of the constitution and this is
okay me da se pa na messages aba no do so papa na me hwe se betumi aka mienu bi ansa na agon Juliana say ye mu bi no mu enyem politicians but ye twan say Sami Jamfi enso baba no so baka de ne atumi ehu na fe oh em say o de yenko hwe Sami, mami mimbi sa house asemi say Gina say ya Supreme Court to see ye no yenum se mo akasa de afa ho kakra say de kwaye no akame say ye twa sa bi asasa na ye twa no ade ebe ha adwene pa ɛsabe na ye twa oju se be ha adwene be ha no ene se je to so mienu ye fa ne se bia speaker no say no me na meti adwa mu as
presiding person.
Yes, presiding person. Ena make us say one more epene so say ye nyintu no ye nyina nka say ane nti me ka wi na me anso ama sanje so ane mo am nyintu no mo nka say daabi na maka ma no atu na o magye so daabi eden sound sign
minu ya medase say gina ya Supreme Court SC say Parliament take decision a otitirani na otidwam no yetimi kan ne ka ho e ma ne kwan ma ne to aba no decision bonia e be diga ne nya papa if it is not changed.
Really?
If we say Ghana beto ho say wo per decisions bonia the Supreme Court take here sa decision we e ka ho bi na me chire mu wi obehu ze court no o ma dane Ghana ye mra bata na butu no ma di o man na bropa enkankan ne mrahye bedwafo hwe asemu aye kan nyina ne farabai ne say Ghana 1992 a ye jitu mu se ye de kabima menke bi be ye adwuma no ye twere mra ye de bebu o man Ghana asa mra no ne ye the 1992 constitution na ye mra ni nyina emu kunyini emu kese pa mra batan no na sa constitution no enye Ghana mra nyina no because enye mra Ghana adwuma yuko ni nipa ewom ni asoye ewom mra e wo so modidi omudwuma no ubetumi atwere ni nyina wo nwoma baako ene ye ka constitution ni ye de ba je se ye de gu atikurata to enu nti enya mra bia ye de di adwuma wo Ghana ene wo constitution no constitution no apone tumi a ye de ye mra ama adwuma yuko eni nipa hodo bia omutumi ye mra na omode govern various things enti for example a lawyer for ye court a emra ye de ye adwuma wo court no ni constitution no constitution no e de say tumi na ma judiciary omo na ye say rules of court so what you say enti this a lawyer ni can CI 47 civil procedure rules of the high court eye enyemra constitution ya twere wo ba constitution na amamra say the judiciary arm no betumi ayesa amra no no mo ankasa dia govern court proceedings in much the same way no and omo ye constitution no e call article 110 jakwam na tie mi yo
bitie pa
and omo say mra hye bedwafo so constitution na create mra hye bedwa fo ama omo tumi so omo nye mra but enhyehyeye ne mra omo bedisu omo fie ho de ayesa amra no ye ntumi ntwere ngu constitution mu ma wo tisa to me ne the article 110 say ye de amamra hye bedwafo so omo watimi ye omo mra ebedi omo so na regulate omadwuma a omo ye e wo mra hye bedwafie article 110 the ekeni subject to the provisions of this constitution parliament may by standing orders regulate its own procedure now no cre say even though say constitution is say to me we amamra hye bedwafo no constitution no say mrana was omo ye de hwe omo dwumadi so wo efie ho no e subject to the constitution e she constitution it we article 1 article 2 ne de keka ho a se samra no ne constitution ni bo abura court bitimi a hye say nyemra papa but se samra no ene constitution ni mo abura court ni tumi se o hyigu because court so mro mra so eja kwamra temi yo parliament is not supreme. Parliament is not sovereign. Parliament is not above the law. In much the same way, the Supreme Court is not above the law. The Supreme Court is not sovereign. The Supreme Court is not supreme. Constitution.
About supreme, that's why it's Supreme Court.
No, the Constitution only talks about the supremacy of the Constitution and not the supremacy of the courts. So court so ye adwuma o dem ra na ye adwuma. Meaning as what television na say. Enti Parliament de ne ho, court de ne ho. But the parliament wo mra etia bibi e wo constitution mu a e na court wo kwan so obehyigu say wo mra ni de wo constitution mu abura e ne wo mra ne ye mra papa that is Ghana mra ye didi adwuma na mra ye fiti 1992 kabima mike biase na mrahye bebiafo based on that article 110 we omo atena se ye omo mra ye friend standard orders omo di bedi omo djuma wo mu fie ana omo se omo nyansa mu ne se ye mpese ye titire ni a obetena dwam no na behwe ye nyina ye so ono na wo sore se opese wo kasa o tumi se ofrew ansa na wetumi akasa ono na wo ye boni bi obetumi atwi wani se pache wan pache obetumi ama ya twe wapie free parliament ono na echinyeje parliament wo bu ate se judge o ruling on point of orders amendments motions ne de keka ho enu nti ono no ye mpese be referee asan so aye footballer on tena dwam se oye o party mpo a no ye mrahye bedwani mpo a o ti dwam ne de wa fa atare bi a hye se ono ne da ye nyina ya no nti o nyina mfimfiri ma na nye partial enu nti omo orders no omo say obi biara otimi tena sa konwa so no onye speaker nso order 7 say uja kwotena sa konwa no so ye MP ana ye deputy speaker ye from Mr Speaker na ni dia ye de ma Mr Speaker na nu bia na ye de be ma even though you are an MP and not Mr Speaker omo ba order 90 no omo say we ye MP na ye deputy speaker na wote chamber wa utimi ye debate e kasa ma o constituency a represent you ba order 90 si wunya kwotena konwa ni mu na wo preside a untumi nye debate untumi nka wadwen untumi nka wo constituency adwen even though you are representing a constituency into order 90 so ho even though you are an MP omo we no mo ba order 1903 and omo say even though say we MP wo constituency ye from Mr Speaker ye di Mr Speaker ni die ema ye Mr Speaker to me asha wonsa die Mr Speaker ye bia no wote wona onye Mr Speaker kra wo si na namu nti utumi ye nti no untumi nye debate na abato so de untumi ntubi because ye pese wugina finfi omunyansa mu no e no mode sa mra we Ghana ye de adi dwuma sa 30 years ni deputy speaker and speaker bi anto abada ana enye mpo so obeto aba wala otie konwa mu a o preside we no mampenye kufu ado ne ba wo mi abetena so e no mode 2022 budget akomra hye bedwam ena eto etimodin eto boni bi hye mu e fa ne e-levy on person mo de bebu Ghana fokum ena NDC form ra hye bedwafo ye 137 ne so mo mpene so ena mo person mo de patapa twifa ya so ntino se say die MPP for say deputy speaker obetumi ato aba for 30 years obi anto aba
but court na kan MPP na kan
so mo position nti na ba yo mani age wu ze lawyer da ko otu mu nchine se o ma ya ade ba ya fantastic ageti se o use no because omo ni say deputy speaker na betumi ato aba de nya e-levy no omo wo a better chance not to me ba to the ma me o de me ma me background it is same way ni kofa ba ye nyina no nyama mi ensenti na Supreme Court say deputy speaker o ti dwamu o pe preside obetumi ato aba almost the edi kan ne say or your MP or constituency into one man anto aba what the same franchise in the constituency almost the toso mienu constitution no e ka say Mr Speaker on to me to aba no one more deputy speaker di anka ho so to me say and the constitution no so ka say ye to aba wo mrahye bedwemu a majority of votes with at least half present no when any deputy speaker and free silent on that it say deputy speaker to me to aba and almost say -3 number 3 say you can say deputy speaker ntimi nto aba de a ene ye speaker no bo apaye obetumi ahye da ka say wo ma adwuma emetena ho na deputy speaker akoto aba na no a short to one side of the house by one vote because of tewa wontimi nto aba opportunistic absence of the speaker BC enti sa anyema miensa we enti no deputy speaker obetumi ato aba na ma mencho di enti ayo asomo order 1093 na mrahye bebiafo na hyehye ye omudi adwuma mfie aduasa ni aye no say deputy speaker men to aba no any bibia wo 1992 constitution no mu embo abura se constitution ni baabi a twere se deputy speaker tie konwa mo otimi to aba ena mrahye bebiafo aye order 1093 se wontumi nto aba de a ene yes amra no enye mra papa
yes the constitution na e di kanka
ena ba to me ba baabi asa nimu se deputy speaker timi to aba eni constitution mo ubisa na kwa na o se enkasa verbatim so it is not in the letter of the constitution. It is not in the letter of the constitution that the deputy speaker can vote. That is not there verbatim.
The deputy speaker.
Now, Article 1042, Article 1042, or say, TMU, or say the speaker shall have neither an original nor casting vote. Yen you know MPP for the Supreme Court say, "Sir Speaker, no deputy speaker nka ho ya money dey." Namasa. yenhwe constitution na yes asem we near dance the trafa be near their dance and a constitution the interpreting constitution. That is why a lawyer for nyina na judge for so when you are interpreting the constitution you interpret it as a whole. Enti me nua kan article 2952 men ko because ho cry the exception bi ho unless the context otherwise admits. What you say? Ye bo opemu ni din a the deputy ka ho. But my uncle 297H. Article 297H. It talks about implied power. There's a power. Yen ka say ye diama obi ba implied in the power ya ka say ye diama no. Over H, in this constitution and in any other law, words directing or empowering a public officer to do any act or thing, or otherwise applying to him by the designation of his office. Let me repeat it. So in this means words applying to a public officer by the designation of his office include his successors in office and all his deputies and all other assistants. And the constitution will say, the constitution will mu yeka bibi fa ohun as a public officer. Sa sem na yaka fa ohun as a public officer no. Eka u deputy, eka u assistant. It is said na Supreme Court omu ni mumra. A lawyer for ni mumra say, yes Mr. Speaker ntimi ntuaba. Na ya money deputy di nti the deputy nka ho. But article 297H say, ya money deputy ni di nkra mpoa implied power. Once say ya bo pay money dino.
This is quite different.
The words apply to the deputy. And unti enna say deputy speaker ni won not ya konwa mu a. Ye constitution ni mu ye nka say speaker ni won na deputy speaker kwotena konwa mu a. Deputy speaker betuma ye A, obetuma ye B, obetuma ye C ye nka ye. Okotena konwa ni mu a the speaker ni betuma ye B, obetuma ye den aye because o ye ni deputy. Adentin na the speaker ni ntumi nye de. Most ya no dey just a constitution naka. I say no what be that? Who ye deputy now kwotena opemu na konwa mu a. The opemu no timi ye bia na ye nka no verbatim so obetumi aye o. But who si na 92 timi ye. But the on to be nyane de most ya no dey ya nka say deputy ni timi nye ntia no de obetumi aye. Can you approbate and reprobate? You are taking the powers of the speaker because you are sitting in for the speaker. Yet you don't want to accept other responsibilities of the speaker. But 297H is clear. Into 1042 no court na ti we decision we gitu mo enye ye. Number 2, almost say the entire speaker ntimi nto aba ne say ono no nya MP na o MP kura na e be ye the speaker was all resign mebo a eno nti na speaker ntimi nto aba, but that is not true. Because me nwe no sika US abrochi mamu asem e just ultimately so US abrochi mamu nsempa nti ma me the US example. The Senate of the US, who is the head? Who is the president of the Senate? It is the vice president of the US. Onye MP. That's what casting vote or tuaba. Ye tuaba mane pai will Senate ultimi tuaba. That's onye MP. So this notion say
the president is not the president of the US Senate.
He is the head of the US Senate. Mother, Google it. The vice president is the head of the US Senate.
President,
and he exercises. No. He please don't even go there.
The president of the Senate.
The president pro tempore, you know, a ceremony.
Senior member was
okay. No, represents the vice president who is the main speaker.
But you see the point.
The producer should Google who is the president of the US Senate. Is the vice president of the US.
Okay.
Sir, President pro tempore no there because the vice president is being hold the bianity no. Onu si na night ceremonial post. Onu no MP. Onu no team or original vote. The vice president or MP so to casting vote. So if
what is the distinction between casting and original
vote? So you cannot say sir.
That's important.
That is provided for by the US
So you cannot say
Constitution.
sir. Yes, speak and tuaba not because say or like
it is because the Constitution expressly forbids him
you are not being fair to
voting.
me.
To the money
You think that speak and tuaba because or MP. Speak and tuaba because constitution ni person or fair or impartial. That is the real reason. Say the MP keke na onyene dia and yet in other countries, and I will give you so many examples. Share Article 102 na mo kan yen kan ye nyina ye call law school na de bi wa ye kire constitutional law. Ye say ye ka mra enya de mra no ya kire no nko a o eye botaya e tai mra na chi so ka mra no
and your friend the spirit of the law. Agya Kwabena wutie me. Eti mmara na nka bibi but botaye ben na na show mo ye mmara na chinti o mo de sa mmara no ahyewo. And on the modern purposive approach of interpretation. Article 102 say Parliament ye come na she baby man sana Parliament betimi di nujuma no. I guess se na she baby afo na e wo ho no omododo no do 1/3. Na sa 1/3 no de ote adwabu no se oye MP a owo constituency and na wonu constituency. So oye speaker, so oye deputy speaker ye nkan ne nka ho. Edi entia se e was say obi a wo ye MP de bia wo tumi take decision e wo parliament dia because say or represent constituency dia ada no mo ye constitution say 102 quorum mpo e no na wo say wo answer the parliament etinye di afiti ni dwumadi ase no ye nyi ni free and say wo yi na free mu dia na wo yi ni constituency free. Okay, because and currently 1/3 quorum no 92 MPs. Say 91 MPs co parliament. Na deputy speaker Joe Wise na tie dwom no mo 92 there is no quorum because on ka quorum ho. So they don't have 92, they have 91.
That is one.
Yes.
Yes.
Utie me. Even though he has a constituency. So are we disenfranchising his constituency? And because the on ka quorum unti no ade a ye be ye ni fie obi a on to be nya bi on to be debate. The constituency ni will a right to be heard on the floor. 90% of what happens in parliament is deliberation, debates. Yeah. But our constituency won't be in Kasamani constituency for. And also constitution not disenfranchise it, but quite one. Constitution no I say because it was said what work of first road or ye an impartial umpire or ye fair judge. Unto me ye referee or te formula. You be kind like a quorum or fry and kind and count. Why? Baby, what and there was so you fair. Into a constituency on your constituency only quorum. Now, Obin Chemi, we are seeing na. On my back one, speaker or tia konyomuno ye MP or constituency. On my constitution say ye kind quorum and on the minimum number of MPs was say once at the parliament did you maybe. My yen kind and count, but a drop batwa or tuaba. Obi ma me one example.
Some can say about US Senate. US Senate no. Na me go na pese me hwe na ye di won say.
But this question is very important.
Good. So see, under the constitution, the vice president serves as the president of the Senate.
Yes.
And presides over the Senate daily proceedings.
Yes. Oni ho a na ye yi obi ahye na even though say vice president but I mean to community.
Baku bi ma me fa so na wasam no wie pay yo. As one of the Senate constitutional officers, only the vice president has the authority to cast time-breaking votes.
Yeah. Even though only MP, into the nigga say the entire Ghana MP, M2 say Ghana MP. I think that it's because
so the vice president can vote. Speaker cannot vote because our constitution does not allow
it. The one presiding is excluded from quorum, yet participate in decision making, votes in the sitting that he is presiding over, whose quorum he was not a part of.
But you see, quorum is distinguishable. According to the
and I say, which country are there was two different quorums? Hold on. Tell me which country in the whole world? Okay. You what quorum? You did debates. The all presiding in Kahubi. The all presiding in Kahubi. Na ye wo quorum a ye dey take decision the all presiding na on ka first quorum no o ka decision dey no be
no country has that.
US the House of Representatives the odoma no currently o Nancy Pelosi no ye partisan on the majority leader and o ye speaker e House of
He's a speaker.
He's a leader of the majority party. I know what I'm saying. Check. There's another because Senate in the she's the leader of the majority party.
Anyway, you go
majority party. And you know, man, what now as their leader. Or no, you can't quorum, you can't home into Timi Tuaba. and now ban by convention or to only when it can make a difference. And then your friend a casting vote. I just say two about man paya and son on waiting to be. Yeah, 2 hour MP but on to be. I just have paya and son why then what to be. But the entire 2 about one say yeah kind quorum FT Parliament do media as US or can be. Uko UK selling the house or yeah MP for trolley on the young speaker on Twaba. I just buy what Parliament on a paya and son to casting vote. On your original vote, but or your MP. But the two to me to casting votes on the say quorum UK and your 40 MPs or can be. Are you getting me? Oko Canada, Oko Australia. Speakers are all now your MPs. Omun two original votes. Baba paya omutimi to be. But omun yina no quorum ye nyu omun free omuka quorum. So they can even debate. That is why Nancy Pelosi can debate. So I am telling you, sir, once the Ghana Constitution has excluded the deputy speaker from quorum, he cannot debate, and therefore he cannot be parliament. Parliament say you take a decision. They first go and deliberate before the decision. Okay. You are not part of the deliberation. What's the decision? The obey.
Okay, so I know the one who's in
example. Ghana na argue maybe Botswana. Botswana speaker or your MP. The deputy speaker so your MP. Our munyina work constituency, but deputy speakers in Antwaba one presiding. In Botswana, it is in the Supreme Court decision.
It is.
It obi suggest said the argument na ye no. Example be any wiase. Botswana bi wo. Momo de no na bi ni wiase. Ebiem omo say deputy speaker ni speaker no omo nye pay because speaker there on to be MP, but deputy speaker MP. Maza MPs nyina omo ne deputy speaker nye pay because the deputy speakers are MPs. Okay? Article 78(1) say Omanpenyi yi ni ministers are. I was a majority MPs. But when you say MPs and deputy speakers in Ghana. Omanpenyi bi no bit my deputy speaker minister and deputy minister. But or MP or constituency. 78 say who yi ministers are. Madodo oni free na shebe as MPs. But deputy speaker no the inform why they are not ordinary MPs. They are supposed to be impartial umpires in the legislative arm. Enti yempese ye don beka executive no. Enti we article 95. Article 95.
Okay. So I mean how do I know see now?
The speaker shall vacate his office if he becomes a minister of state or deputy minister. 95(2). Now about 96. 2. The I can't say 96(3). The provisions of clause 2 of 95. How was he speaking to me minister or deputy, you know? Shall apply in the case of deputy speaker. Also want to mean. So what elevated some confounded do stage be or person more impatient to owe you even from the possibility of they being appointed as part of the executive. Meaning 1045 quickly time in the winter. Meaning you nyina ka wan say article 1045 na chere emra obi a oye MP or representative constituency on to mean to about parliament. And that article ne say contract about parliament anim. Now, MP, who interest, pecuniary interest, we are party to the contract, and now we are partner in the firm, and you are buying what contract, you know. You say, to me, you're fair, it's meant to about. Meanwhile, that interest now, what contract, it may be your personal business interest, but you say, constituency for cannot have a stay. Tell you, let's go back to the spirit of the law I actually in Iowa Law School. What is the spirit behind 145? The letter talks about only contracts. I will be your interest will. But the spirit is that where there is conflict of interest, you are not supposed to vote. Say see example ya we deputy speaker tia kunyam. Or say ya twaba otimi to be. As many as are in favor say aye or say aye. As many as are in favor say no. No why din. Obe ruli I need no dia na no e dia. Obe ruli ama no. Clearly, that spirit of the law 105, no conflict of interest, no. It's yeah, no. Let's say lastly, 30 seconds, 1 minute, yeah, 1 minute, 1 minute. Oh, me make a 1 minute.
1 minute, Sammy.
Yen differentiate between a situation where a rule of parliament aye any bibi a constitution ubra from a situation of parliament aye mra the constitution is silent on. Because in making subsidiary regulations, you know, you can provide for lacunas in the parent law. enya de what parliament standing orders mu bia na wo constitution no enya de what rules of courts CI 47 mu bia na wo constitution no so you cannot say courts are rules any constitution munti unconstitutional and our parliament are rules any constitution munti unconstitutional unless say ne de wo mu ne den ebo it mean that the proper dey make nyina ne say the decision way decision banza
okay
any mu wo mbrem
so
decision way e be yet say me tell bibi decision way no e cost 90 job and a court na ye because omu wie nyina no mo say deputy speaker betimi ato aba but in hyehyɛ ya e betumi ama ne kwan ama na to aba no parliament nkoye enti Godfrey Dame nkom na hye bedwam no nko kanche right honorable Abansumana Bagbin any NDC na hye bedwa for 137 say omo nye hyehyɛ ya e be ma Joe Wise
ato aba
na Joe Wise na akwa say ono ntimi nto aba the Supreme Court is being more silent than the Supreme Court wants to cry more than the Joe Wise is ntimi nto aba Joe Wise
mama mo be 2 minutes wo ho na ye de
ama de asem nyina aka police say yes that me can
police you na ka bebre police so na ka bebre okay almost say me charge my battery almost so much 15 minutes account
oh you don't want
that
Prince Obi
mama to aso yeah kan nyina no wo yeah kan no yemra pon no any court no gi na asie na asie de toto ne yehwe bra na loyadako kasa no kan say me say ukwa na make first example on that say ebia baka say yefa pen and paper ebia yenim say chok de twere but because say ya chok ya fan counting no utumi nkonkofa enfa meshem good Article 102 etumi ekasisu de pese ye form koruma speaker member no on kan
deputy speaker no president on kan ho o
say the decision dia one of no so ayedin ewo abato no ho enti ayedin so that say
you do the film that
does that mean say sa ehweso a wo ye say infato a wo ye say pen ne press wo choko ya fa choko an kan ho enti utumi for fa choko
na you choko film that
choko na on kan say 104 no 104 no and one kan ho hwe ni ti
you no to you film
abebe kan ho
102 you choko
film nkasa ye edika ni ya
102 you choko film
he goes to the spirit of the law. Case na kasa to 4 verses AG. There's a very interesting part of that case. I say yesheshe emrano botaya. It says that emrakunin constitution no it carries the will and the soul of the people and therefore its language is a living organism.
Okay.
At the time of interpreting constitution biano is the political, economic, social, cultural context. At the time by which you interpret the constitution, and that's important. Now, to answer the question, there's a difference between casting and original vote. The decision seems to say you have a right to vote without distinguishing between the two.
But in Ghana, you can't have casting votes. That one, the constitution has prescribed it.
For the speaker.
No. For all of them.
For speaker.
For all of them, you can't have a casting vote. For all of them, you know why?
No, let me
104.3 say. 104.3 say. Say you talk about parliament on any motion. Now, ban paya. The motion is considered lost.
Yes.
Meaning, say 104.3 no did not envisage say there will be a tie-breaking vote. Either than that, it will not give you the verdict. Say where there is a draw, equality of votes, it is lost.
Okay.
One more verdict. In the casting vote, you didn't
But you see, the question is, if you're going to interpret in a context like this, you actually have two options. You are either going to say, because of the context now, I want for which is relevant in time to interpret the constitution. Into check constitution, moi, I was check more mra a woman. The argument that and I think I would take that argument to say the constitution does not seem to suggest say casting vote and original vote it's available to any person. 1093 it's clear to say the presiding person does not have a casting vote. But the real question to be asked is at the time of a decision making, say si jina yes ya the otia konwamu no sebio ne constituency, what happens? Especially in a context like ours where we have a hung parliament, you would almost make the government, you almost make the
nation
ungovernable. And that is a far more mischief.
Why?
No, it's important, Mpacho Wadaruma. That's a far more mischief. Because, you see, say, and measures and because they are clear to tell us, same way, being mad. And that is important. I was the first to point to the provision that says, say a kind speaker ordinarily we should interpret the deputies to include it.
Yes.
But you see, the implications of the decision will be far worse.
Why? 11T.
No. It has nothing to do with 11.
Okay,
but the point is that, you see, in my humble opinion, the original vote, maintaining the original vote and keeping the semblance of impartiality will be a difficult stride. And
impossible.
And that's the strongest argument on this side. But the other...
This is the first time I was supporting me, and I'm most appreciative.
I mean,
for that.
I am as objective as a guest. I'm as objective as a guest. So for the purposes of combining the original vote with the impartiality, it will be a difficult stride. But having said that, there is also a fact in law, based on the context and the interpretation of the law, read together. If you do not reach a decision for which making the entire board, yamfa even number. There's a reason why you can't have an even number in the board, because you cannot make a decision. But in this particular case, we have 137 with one independent who is a speaker. In interpreting that speaker as not having a binding vote, you basically have rendered Parliament ungovernable. You have made the decision for 30 years.
Parliament has been very governable.
By law.
For 30 years now, 1093
ye wo bibia ye kan se mo betumi afọ kwan bi so na wone wodi ginasie bi ba obenya ho kwan ene wo ma ani wafa no ebetumi ato adwene akyerekyere mu se de be ya
Yakwamra ye de mrewo ya adwuma mfie aduasa
obetumi anya mo support
Parliament are very governable. Why are we not creating the question?
Because the nature of Parliament now has never had
the nature of this Parliament is so shemra.
That is where we have living constitutionalism.
So why tell me question about then we ya na me bisa say no tina ye ka say lobbying oh ye betuma ka say bia esi enya kasa kire
esi de mo in lobby o
enti no aye dan ye for say you dey assume that meeting say sanka say ka say 140 and majority and ye wo 131 and I share minority ya say 9 and nobody change wo but the baby no obaka say abia ye here 2/3 of abia say they do the siginaye meaning say mo here support of minority
no you make the 2/3 no so you bet me kind deputy be 10 because we don't want Parliament to be ungovernable
you don't lobbying enu so bebe wura mu ntino say e ka say be ungovernable say lobbying skills no ye powerful don't you think say mbotumi nya minority ni side kwa mo support more even more than ebia party etie dwamum
Jacob, now I'm the first to say that this nature of Parliament should ordinarily be progressive. Inti afanonimi and should look at the interest of Ghana. Unfortunately, I am also the first to say that it is unfortunate partisanship inti, and I think I've sat in this room and spoken about partisanship a lot of times. Unfortunately, most of us cannot be objective enough or consensus building enough beyond partisan lines, and that is a real fact. So the real problem is that we must cure partisanship, but until then, until the utopia where we can build consensus on non-partisan lines, and I'm also the first to concede that most decisions are made in Parliament on consensus. There may be only a fraction of issues which may lead to such, as they will say, schism, as much as you find. But the real question is difficult questions like this. That is what matters. In explaining, I was the first to say on both sides of the argument, there are strong law and there are strong arguments on both sides. This is ordinarily one of the cases that could tilt anywhere, but it must be read in a certain context. The context for which it matters, and again, our law school say in interpreting a constitution, you interpret it as a living organism. You interpret it in the context. For that reason, for the purposes of the context in which this decision matters, which is the current nature of Parliament, I support the decision.
Okay.
Okay.
But I say, law. Na me sir. Say, who share
Me we are say
said ya. I say ya ni apa. You bet 12 minutes into. At least a bit me akasa kakra nsa ne asori so. Me so mu wi me so meka me de ansa ne asori. Na ya kan nyina no. Ya de amaya hodo constitution o mo hyehyɛ na ya kan US and UK de na ya kan bo
ya de
ya de ababe ya de enti se de ababe ya de na se ya de no ya yi we fa na we kakra na de kan ho de an se ya fa ne se bia akwakoba se speaker of parliament deputy speaker se speaker no obetumi atena se no tena se a nipa wo mra se bedwa fo no ye kan wo a ye nkan ne nka ho bi
okay
na mo se ba se beto aba utumi to aba e wo constitution mu saa na so isan se eye silence nti no omo da ba se utumi to aba ye sa wo mra hodo bi a eye privileges a emra se bedwafo wo an se bia wo ko mra se bedwa mu a ye tumi nchew ufi mra se bedwa mu ko fie a etumi nchew ufi mra se bedwa mu kokko ye adwuma bi ama oman na etumi nchew ene sa ne ama privileges no so e wo ho does that mean say one day bi obi so betumi asori aka say okay sa mra na nya dwu nipa no watu ka na ni kire say parliament no okọ ti wadi bone kora mo nche no I just say be over parliament house answer. I say be want to me ache no. Sa ne market to diri say be so a obi betumi asori akasa me so me dey court supreme court akasa sa mra no anya de ye ntini ahwe ne asesa no ana say bibia ti sa.
Oh, ene de me giri say nipa bebre betumi ene sa. In fact, say the constitution na city no. Article 1 2 and 2 no emma obi biara ofiri say constitution no ye busuo no. Emma no kwama na de court. Emma court no interpret.
Okay.
Enti I idea me say so be free say sa am right say obi ko parliament a yentimi parliamentarian ko parliament and also upon parliament yentimi nchi no be free say idea ha no na ofiri say ebu your constitution no animti a obetimi dey court yes say we dey court and just where the paper and so depending on how the case is structured me say the Supreme Court will be willing to look at it and determine whether their jurisdiction has been properly invoked.
Okay.
Based on that, the Supreme Court may decide to listen to the person or not. And the media say, look, we are doing well in our constitutional governance. Yeah, dear, said the media can assemble, young far bar, entry to any second near the court. Now, the court is making a decision. Yes, so you're respecting. Now, some can say, a woman Supreme Court, say speaker bet me at Twaba, and so see that if you say Supreme Court now can say the procedure and say Parliament, then anything go for that power on family.
At least for this 8th Parliament.
Yeah, or power on family, speaker and we have say bet me but he understands what the Supreme Court has said is final. The Supreme Court
is subject to review. It's not
well,
final.
It's subject to review by the same Supreme Court, of course.
So it's not final.
Yes. The Supreme Court makes final decision. Review jurisdiction, we know how we can invoke
the decisions of the review panel is what is final.
So
and this is until review bench. Until it is not final. But if there is a step above it, then it is not final.
Until review, it remains the final.
But until now, the action of the action is not final.
You know between us, we know the Supreme Court is the final arbiter. It's the Supreme Court I'm talking about.
Not the ordinary bench, but the review panel of the court.
Supreme Court is the final arbiter in any matter.
But this decision is not final. That is not correct.
Well,
we all agree on that.
Review.
Okay.
Now,
and also we decided we are kind of operationalization. And also,
so my point is that you need to say, Emrano dear, they say in the Supreme Court, I'm making the decision.
Okay.
The decision is that the first deputy speakers can vote and they can form a quorum when we are voting in Parliament. And no now see in Egypt. Now, I say no, but because Supreme Court can because stay. A dear boy Emma Yemen a year or my any son say Supreme Court ekas me in Egypt. 2013 Supreme Court ekas say my penny Kufuado ni protest or the court 1 year to no. My penny Kufuado ekas say wajatum I say NDC Joma election was fair. In 2017, Supreme Court ekas say Omapanye Akufo-Addo in the election, no, there was nothing wrong with it. Even though you were John Mama, I said that but by and large, or accepting addressing Akufo-Addo as the president of Ghana, it's also Agya. So what I'm trying to say is that we have always respected the decisions coming from our court, even a district court, and we should discard the posture, say Supreme Court ruling. And that's a Supreme Court judgment about you don't build a nation like that. Remember, we are in the business of nation building.
I agree with you.
Now, it's law-abiding citizens. So Supreme Court, look, because imagine, say, 2013, and can people before can say, a woman say Supreme Court say, John Mahama, the election valid by NTSA, and the farmer, say, and imagine, say, in 2017, John Mahama, and NDC Fonseca can say, a woman say Supreme Court, and make a decision by an into your farmer, Sanko may say,
2021, brother.
2021.
2021.
Yeah,
2021.
That was
Yeah.
a decision.
2021, sorry, forgive me. So my point is that we have consistently respected decisions coming from our court. Listen, when I teach constitutional law, I tell my students, look, Sir Adiwi, it's nothing but just a piece of paper with words on it. What makes it great is the respect we give to it. How consistently we respect these provisions. Otherwise, this is just but a piece of parchment, right? But the so edge the way na cannot see parliament say court make this consistently. And then the man no you koyanim and then the more man no you tumpo. It's me the American in say the Supreme Court has spoken. The Supreme Court has said the first and second deputy speakers, when it comes to the decision as to whether they can vote, the Constitution allows them to vote. We should accept that, unless we go for review. Again, we should accept, say, when it comes to quorum, the first and second deputy speakers are part of it. All the other examples we can give around the world. You can talk about Botswana, you can talk about Canada, you can talk about UK. They have different constitutions than ours.
Okay,
wait. Let me go on. So our constitution is very clear on what are the rules. Constitution clear. I say, speaker dear, what to about? It's clear. It did not forbid or prescribe the first and second deputy speakers from voting. And it won't to me enquire emra. That is the standing orders. No what just sa omu to me no every woman said. And no any Supreme Court. I can say sa 109 na 1093 no standing orders no. Idea it's yamra. And no, you see, so me I can say Joe was support no. Joe was by then was referring to the then standing orders that in his view was valid. They say Supreme Court is invalid. So his position will automatically change because now you have to go by the decision of the Supreme Court.
You have
a question. Otherwise, let me run up properly. And he said, let's accept the fact that the Supreme Court decision is final. So open, let's say open, so call reviewer. The law allows you.
Review.
And I said, you own your party to the case. How can you file review? And I always require the review being here because said decision the bemu and I am money. The 2 million share. Court no says 2 million. A warm rush baby for. Did the rush baby for be na near train? Somebody cannot hear. The review crowd the media way no in here. But here we are not bibi say court to cast someone. I was say you 2 million the year. The word is not yen too. So what's the for buo Emma court now? Respect the decision of the court. That's one thing. But say yen to mu there, unto mean case court to cast them why yen to. In rare kuto, a unanimous decision of the Supreme Court based on the 1960 Constitution. Emra and Kromache Bafwa Kutomutumu under the Preventive Detention Act. JB Dankwa Moko Court say the continuous detention of Omo Ayachi Omo Ewo prison. Abraham for Monko court no it's ya obo human rights no court no unanimous ka say there be enti obo human rights bia na parliament e de ne ho timi hye mere bia a unanimous decision of the Supreme Court and so court na nkasa nyintu mu da a lawyer for nyintu mu da de bia ye twa boss a judge for na wo call law school a papa ye o kire first year constitutional law first case ye twabo mo da enti se we so nya ye be twabo mo sa te se de twabo judges no mu di real court asem ye nyintumu na nyintumu kina but that is not the say as saying he say defy the order even if the order is bad it is a law for the time being but you see that is why court ye free be per incurium court timi take a decision na court na sans wa be chair be ka say decision we are court ni take na no no e per incurium ne che say ene mmara bo abura court na hwe mmara no so what about na court na ba be bo agu and this decision is per incurium article 297H and article 297H say the constitution ma obi opemu na nkasa obi a public officer bi o ma ni tumi a ehia sa tumi ni ye de be ma ni deputy tumi a ye de ma opemu no ni deputy ni was tumi na bi and so commonsensically flows from that say article 106 is a parliament yemra speaker enkwa na wotumi for example so for where the comma president say on finance say speaker ni one deputy speaker netewa speaker tu kwa na deputy speaker na aswe ababetena ne konwa mu a wontumi nka say emra ne ka say speaker nko na betumi afa where the bill no it in its absence the deputy cannot do the power given to the substantive applies to the deputy in the absence of the substantive in that same vein what the speaker cannot do the deputy when he is sitting in for him cannot do that is 297H and you know clear and we will respect the court but jitum de yintum ye be bo machi sa for the decades to come so when they get an opportunity omon sisa no
okay
casting vote sem no eja kwamna me nua no e me de se nyina ya te ase oh me nua sompa ne kasa ye me de pa because ye mi ense nyina na ye neutral kakra ye den ewo kana utie kana semwa o de neutral no tie na sem na wo kana o say oni supreme onu de ohuni said your tie konwom na so ye impartial enu ntu man original voter on to be impartial man nye enti kaye man casting vote so na aba no aje sa apai ansa na wetimi ayeden atubi a kire bebia enko na fe de watwa na 360 degrees on the Supreme Court so yeah the Supreme Court did not give the deputy a casting vote of one original vote
no you see
and I was very so much oh me last 1 minute me last 1 minute this issue say me say the entie ni say deputy speaker to aba ne say e was so ye impartial into article 102 eyi na free quorum even though so ye MP e wo constituency enu nti na order 90 so say on to me nye debate no order 2115 of standing order say we are chairman of parliamentary committee on the parliament obadwuma mo ye ne kese pa ye committee ne ye no nti MP bia constitution say was so nya committee ba ko currently omu nyina wo mienu committee level titreni na o tie adwam na o ye chairman wo ho na o represent speaker no unim say o ye MP o constituency enso ye to aba on to be ayesa aba na payansa Joe Wise as first deputy speaker o na ye chairman of appointments committee o mo ye veteran no unim say ye to nominees ni so aba Joe Wise in to be ayesa payansa aden no de ye nka say Joe Wise o ye MP or represent be kwaifo nti so hi ni mu na erikopoku mu ni afenwoma ke mo to aba de a e no so to be
but a paya or to be
Opaya or to be because I didn't know mama no a casting vote on tranche because you percent naturally no
because numbers are the same
because as much as possible no enisa oye or to be enisa oye bias enisa o take his
but
side
when you have an even number what happens
so that standing order has taken the chairman of that committee original vote a Jeffrey Nisem ajo original vote Jeffrey Nisem I don't know they are correct I know they are mon kan ho asem bia na but 102 I interpret say Agya deputy speaker original vote free Nisem they must be kwa they are all turning nyina no make no see nyina no the court for bon nyina say the lawyer John Dakomo Ken nyina the Supreme Court for Ken nyina say ye kobo bola players 11 I was say boy was here checking referee who say so ye kan coach ye kan ne nka ho because onka player for no I was on ugina nche no coach even though he's part of the team want to be my park no so yan kind and count but say do penalty dia ya ma coach ni you go can down no
Some ya na some can feel
do penalty dia ya wa ni mo
Eddie ma Eddie sama you know or say your lawyer ni some me da se pa ya obetu obi so bisa question bi the wa ha na sa question na me dwina so na ye de yenkomo twetwe ni nyina akọ na wieye wo se ye misa se koba se ebia me misa wo se ekoba se ebia o mu si ginaye na se ginaye na o mu sa na so mo debate bi na se debate no mo debate no ekọ etia deputy speaker otie adwamu ana se first the second deputy speaker otie adwamu ana se MP ko ayeyi no so beti na adwamu no ekọ tia no na se womo ebeto aba na aba no beto no ne gina sie no ebeko atia ne constituency na aso edu sa abre no a abato no beto ne sen edu sa abre no benya ho kwaya kasa sa da bi asem na mo ka no aba mo constituency
no pega ne sa no friend ho
ana
no aso ya gina no to address Mr. Speaker no member the academy
speaker ready me that say enti sabi me fe me that say and ya so come that say and afa no ya Jordan ko also
You know the process.
they are 20 years you say
Process was no, because we let the parliament
but you say 50 years
you understand that the decision
for voting, you know.
Yes.
Young former parliament.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is that you never
and mo koya mo
together production team no ase meda Prisobi passe na meda Richie P ase na fe eye ahofe meda wase ahofe kora ha madwen kora do se osofo bi o se e frɛ no blessing hwan o se e frɛ osofo no say Prophet Blessing said Amwako Church of Christ Faith Overcomers Chapel International Malangbawi yes na enre wa woda enti happy belated birthday sofo and na fe so no ochina eye akosua free ye say John baba penny no akosua free ochina wa woda enti happy birthday in advance akosua nyini che na ye penny papa original penny pa midin ede Agya Kwabena lawyer Kwame Echiampon chebi abusua penny lawyer me ma cha no pai me jini se bibi akoso bokosan so na chebi abontindom hene ye chebi hene me ma oche anopai ye wa ya domu a ye besan ya hia asemo nkoma ye die wo ha announcement be ya
yeah, regional Zongo caucus coordinator for Bono region.
Yeah, oh, I like Gausu.
Baba Gausu.
Baba Gausu.
Free we and
yes. Gausu dear one of
the most committed, dedicated.
Gausu tinenimu papa.
Very well. Yeah, you see, I call outreach. No committee me. Oh. To me, Kaza me can't check Papa Mahama. Say, "Ke power 2025." On the Kopa Burkina Faso ambassador.
Oh, that's right. And enti
ochana nyina yakoja
busu dance pa enti baba Gausu abusuafo a wo sunya nyina ma munyina hyede me ka bebia yotena kyera station no benkum so ope Master lecturer chief imam ho no bekono na tembia na o 20 I'll use this opportunity to say a very big morning to sunya ne fo nyina titiru anti akosi odomase low cost anti isi na busuafo ni nyina no ma munyina chibide de Agya Kwabena ho yakopon adoma ebehia yakra munyina